Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It is 2 o'clock on the East Coast. We're waiting for President Trump now. It's going to be a couple hours yet, but we have a lot of live interviews to get to, of course, and also a lot of news topics and specifics to get to as well. As we know that at 4 o'clock, the president will deliver remarks from the East Room of the White House to honor 100 Purple Heart recipients, as today is Purple Heart Day. So we'll get to more of that in just a minute. And Director, if we could pull up the programming for our next interview, who is with the All Family Pharmacy. Michael Kunzler, of course, the owner with All Family Pharmacy. Michael, thank you so much for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thanks for having me, as usual. I appreciate it.
Definitely. A lot of people are liking you guys' independent, pharmacy. A lot of great choices there. It's pretty easy stuff, streamlined. But let's dive into one of those medical topics about parasites right now. Why is this whole parasite cleansing important even for people living in the United States?
Parasite cleansing is becoming a very popular thing. Obviously, people think parasites, they think third world problems. Parasites are here in the United States. Between our food, our travel, the environment, our animals, our dogs, our cats, we live on a farm. Everybody should be doing a parasite cleanse once a year, just to be preventative of your overall health. It's nothing wrong. It's a safe and effective medication. As long as the doctor says you're okay to take it, I don't see why you shouldn't do a cleanse. Yeah. Right? We want to protect the gut.
Exactly. And then I heard about, actually my wife was telling me about this the other day, like, hey, we got to clean, go through some different pillows and sheets and stuff. Parasites, can go into all that stuff too, right?
Yeah, it could be anywhere. You could go to your favorite restaurant, and if they have refrigerator problems over the weekend, it could be in your food and you don't know, right? The health inspectors only go to these restaurants every few months. So they're not regulating them on a daily basis. I'm not saying the restaurants are not refrigerating their meat properly, but something could happen and the business could still push the meat through and you could gain a parasite. You hear about people getting food poisoning all the time from this.
Right.
You should be concerned about that.
So what are some of the most common symptoms of a parasite infection that people often overlook?
Fatigue, bloating, skin issues, brain fog, that's a big one. Again, these symptoms correlate with a lot of different medical problems. Just like if you Google something, you see some of the scariest things in the world if you're Googling a couple symptoms because they all kind of correlate with each other. But again, a lot of people get fatigue and bloating from parasites. And, it could just be one small parasite, which, a quick, 15 to 30 day treatment could clear out and you'd be good for the year. I do them every, 3 months, 4 months. I love them. It does help with bloating. I mean, I'm not that big of a guy, but I'm still a big guy, and I feel less bloated when I take it. I technically kind of feel less inflamed in my knees. I have arthritis in my left knee, and from time to time it helps with that. But again, that's, not guaranteed.
But the question is how often should someone do a parasite cleanse? And then how do you know the right dose of ivermectin or mebendazole? And is that what a parasite cleanse is? I need Idiot's Guide for all this medical stuff because I'm glad I'm talking to you about it. So can you break it down for us?
Yeah, so I suggest at minimum once a year, some people twice a year. If you travel a lot, if you like to go to the islands, if you like to go outside of the United States, it's definitely highly suggested to do it when you come home. Whether you have a parasite or not, you want to kind of just flush everything out of your system. I used to go to Mexico when I was younger, and I'd come back with some serious symptoms from drinking the water and eating the food over there. And we loved vacationing over summer, but they had a lot of family hotels over there back then. But I wish I took ivermectin because I always came back with the same symptoms every time. And it's not just Mexico, it's everywhere. A lot of these countries, they have, certain things in their water and their food that, we here have government regulation to protect ourselves. But when my father was alive, he would take ivermectin once a month or once every 2 weeks, at least one dose. And he lived in Nicaragua. And that was just the norm. They knew what was in their food. They knew that there's possible contamination. And so they would just, do it in a preventative manner. And it was safe and it's effective. And the whole population does it. It's not something that they think about. They just do it. And, here we want you to take the right dose. And we have a dose calculator that's going to help you take that dose that's specific based on your weight. One of the reasons why we're throwing mebendazole in there now is because mebendazole is specific to certain types of worms. And it's got some, off-label use for antioxidants and anti-inflammatories that we're starting to find out a little bit. But these aren't guaranteed studies. It's not large trials like, the FDA will put through. These are small trials or trials done on animals. But again, there's data there, giving us that information based on it. So we're going to encourage you, if you're going to do one of these parasite cleanses, A, use the dose calculator. It's going to tell you the accurate amount of medication to take based on your weight. And then B, speak with the provider, speak with a healthcare practitioner, a doctor, a physician's assistant, nurse practitioner, anybody in the medical field that's licensed to guide you through that process. We provide all of that. We provide pharmacists on staff to help guide you through it too as well. These medications have been around for 40 years, so we know the safety and effectiveness of them.
You were bringing up two countries that I've been to, Mexico and Nicaragua, Managua in Nicaragua, and then of course in places like Reynosa in Mexico. They were both back in college for various, mission trips, that kind of thing. And so in Mexico, to your point, I remember drinking some of the water there, some of the food, eating some of the food, and definitely was in the hospital. That whole Montezuma's revenge thing, and I guess there was a parasite, that kind of thing. If I would have even known the word ivermectin, I would have taken it. I didn't know about that then, but so anyway, just to your point, it's so true. But that's still something that can happen here in the States, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It could happen anywhere. Again, I want to say all small businesses and all large businesses do what they're supposed to do, but at the end of the day, you never know. You can walk into a dive bar and grab a burger, and that meat couldn't have been refrigerated properly, and there could be a parasite in there, and you ingest it, and it affects you. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a chance that it can happen. So we just want you to be preventative and just take care of your overall health. Some people may say, I'm not doing it. That's quite all right. Everybody should be able to make their own decision. And I think that's what we're built off of, is we're building a healthcare system within ourselves to allow patients to make that decision, as long as that decision is guided by a doctor or a physician who's going to
their business, And I have another question before we move on with our general line of questioning is, so I remember I was in New Jersey one time. I'm not going to name where I was at. I was at a pizza place there, and I saw some slices of pizza that were out on display, and you know how you go into places, let me get a slice, that kind of thing, right? And the pizza looked like it was there for a few hours, and I don't know why I did that. I just was hungry. And so later, I had food poisoning. So is the parasite situation, is that what causes the food poisoning, or it could be E. coli, or what is the whole situation there?
That'd probably be more bacterial. I would be more concerned with meats rather than dairy. That's probably the dairy issue. A spoiled dairy or a bacteria in it from being left out. When it comes to parasites, traditionally you find them in red meats, pork, beef, stuff like that. So I wouldn't be suspective of that, of ivermectin helping for something like you went through. But again, if I go to a pizza joint nowadays, thanks to RFK Jr. and all these, new conservative movement trying to make everybody healthy, I don't like to order a slice that's been sitting there for 2-3 hours. I ask them to make me a fresh slice, or, just order the pie. I mean, I have 2 kids, so yeah. We're going to eat that whole pie.
It's funny. A lot of people across the country, some people call it a pizza pie, and some people just say, can I get a pizza? So I'm glad you're calling it a pie like I do. Let's go get a pie of cheese. Anyway, so are there any side effects or safety tips to know when using ivermectin or mebendazole?
Yeah, so you'll find out if you have an allergy to one of the medications. It is very rare, but they do occur. Like, we just had somebody a couple days ago, and she was talking with one of the pharmacists, and she thought she was taking too high of a dose. And we told her, if there's an allergy, regardless of the dose she's taking, it's going to cause, the same symptoms. And she said she broke open the capsule and only tried to take half, which You never know if that's an actual accurate dose of half, because when a capsule, everything's mixed together properly. And she still got the same symptoms. So it's an allergy. There's hundreds of side effects listed, and if we have to go into specifics, I'll tell you the top ones. But, legally wise, there are over 100 side effects, just like every medication. You can watch the commercials now on TV, and the guy's speaking really fast when it comes to side effects. But it's diarrhea, upset stomach, dizziness. A lot of that comes from, upsetting the stomach. But, we're always going to encourage drinking plenty of water. We want to flush whatever's out of your system, and staying hydrated while taking these medications.
Definitely. And so what benefits overall, again, or changes can people expect to notice after completing a cleanse then?
Yeah, overall health, right? The one thing is the brain fog. So you'll wake up physically as well as mentally better every day, and getting rid of that bloating could, encourage a little bit more of that physical activity, the physical side of things. So traditionally speaking, you're going to get overall general health. And what we've noticed over the last, I would say, 8 years is protecting your gut. Everything comes from your gut, right? Your health, your autoimmune, your immune system. So we want to make sure that you're protecting your gut. And the first thing you can do by protecting your gut is killing the parasites that are within there that are causing a lot of these symptoms. Which, is a great thing to do. And, we're always going to tell you to do your own research before coming to us, because we love when people come to us and they're informed. But we also like informing people. The one thing that we want to, talk to people about it when we inform them is that, we are a business. We're not trying to mislead them. So if we give them too much information, in the government's eyes, we're misleading them. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to let you make the choice. And if you need guidance, we have pharmacists, we have doctors, we have individuals on staff that'll help you make the informed decision, the safe decision, and the effective decision that's going to better overall your health.
Yeah, it sounds like a common sense pharmacy that you have there at All Family Pharmacy. And finally, sir, I know that there's a 10% off right now with the RSBN promo code, but is it 25% for ivermectin, and also is it mebendazole?
Yes. So we just lowered the prices on ivermectin and mebendazole. We know everybody in the industry is increasing their prices right now. We're actually trying to lower them. We think it's the right decision to make. We've become a big player in the game when it comes to online pharmacies. Our costs are dropping, and instead of because we're family owned, instead of the family trying to capture more profits, we've decided to drop the price by 25% to encourage people to come to our pharmacy. That's who we are as an American business. We're here to put the patient over profits. We're not big pharma. We're not going to throw a patent on a drug and try to charge people $1,000. Mebendazole from the manufacturer, our price is a little over $600 for one chewable tablet. You can buy one of these cleanses, 60 capsules of that 100 milligrams for, I believe it's $120, because we compound it here. We compound it based off of the physician's directions. So we're going to consistently try to do what we can to make the cost more effective for everybody, for all Americans that want to come to our pharmacy and utilize our services. And
it's awesome. And it's an easy, 1, 2, 3 step. It's basically go online, select the medications, then a doctor would prescribe the order, right? A pharmacist would fill that order, and then it gets shipped to your door. It's those 3 steps, right?
Yes. So you place the order. You can place it one of 2 ways. One, you fill it out on the internet. One, you call us over the phone. We have licensed technicians. We have customer service agents. We have everybody now answering phones, because more and more people like to call and talk to somebody live. They want to make sure we're a real, legit business. Obviously, you can walk right in our store and talk to us. No problems. But yeah, they place the order. That order goes directly to a licensed physician who's licensed in your state. Every state is different. They have their own state laws. So we have to abide by all of those state laws. And then once the doctor consults and makes a determination if the medication is appropriate, they'll prescribe it. Keep in mind, our doctor declines medication. They deny it from time to time. And they deny it due to the safety and effectiveness for you as a human being. They're not denying it for big pharma or for anything like that. They're trying to protect you and protect us and themselves. So we do get those from time to time, and we refund the money back or we give you an alternative route. We give you the option to choose. Do you want to try an alternative route, or do you want your money back? And, people have come accustomed to that and they're happy. So, once they place that order, we have our licensed technicians fill the order. We compound the drugs on site. And then the pharmacist will check the medications before they're made if it's a compounded drug. And then a pharmacist will check the order before it's shipped. So there are lots of layers of protection. All of our medications third-party tested. We have certificate of analysis to prove it, to make sure that everything is up to USP, which is United States Pharmacopoeia standards. It's the highest standards in the world. That's one of the reasons why our drugs are so expensive here in the States. But again, we do everything at the top standards. And if we can do it at the top standards and drop our prices, I think we'll become America's #1 pharmacy at one point. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and it's great to see that. Great to see independent pharmacies using common sense just to help we the people out there. So Michael Kunzler, the owner of All Family Pharmacy, thank you so much. And thank you so much to all the people that you guys have there that arrive here on the show as well. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I forgot to mention that RSBN 10 coupon. So technically you can get 35% off ivermectin and mebendazole. And then we have a Substack we're actually starting live where we're going to give a lot of information for our medications. And this is going to be written by individuals with PhDs or doctors who are going to give people more information about these drugs. And if you subscribe to it, it's free. And we'll give you coupons in the subscription. So, you might even be able to catch a bigger coupon than 10%. Who knows?
That's awesome. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Michael Kunzler, thank you again for joining us on Right Side.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too, sir. All right. Meantime, today's event at the White House will honor 100 Purple Heart recipients. So the Purple Heart is the oldest active military medal in the United States. It's awarded to those wounded or posthumously to those who were killed in combat. So the original Purple Heart, we're told, of course, we know, designed as the badge of military merit, was established by George Washington, then the Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, by order of his New York headquarters on August 7th, 1782. So the badge of military merit was only awarded to 3 Revolutionary War soldiers by General Washington himself. Since then, more than 1 million Purple Hearts were awarded during World War II and beyond. So today, that is the event that's happening at 4 o'clock. We're going to see that 100 Purple Heart recipients will be there at the East Room of the White House. And speaking of the Purple Heart, here's a video from the Department of Defense.
Created in 1782 by General George Washington, the Purple Heart Medal is the oldest military award still presented to American warriors. We award this medal to our brave troops wounded or killed in action. Over 1.8 million patriots have earned this award, each one of them sacrificing for us, for our country, and for our security. So on this Purple Heart Day, please join us in remembering and honoring these great Americans. We are grateful for their selfless service. We will never forget their heroism, and we strive to possess their courage. And that's why I'm proud to be joined by Assistant Secretary of Defense Sean Parnell, who received a Purple Heart for his sacrifice. Sean, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. A grateful nation never forgets its heroes, its triumphs, or its pain. Recipients of the Purple Heart Award put their bodies and souls on the line for this great country. During those quiet moments, when the flag waves at half-mast, we remember not just the medals pinned to their chests, but the scars etched into their stories. The ones that whisper of battles fought in distant lands and freedoms defended at an unthinkable cost. These men and women didn't ask for glory. They demanded it through sheer will, turning fear into fortitude and chaos into courage that echoes through generations to this very day. They are the best among us because they inspire the best within us. And so on this Purple Heart Day, we honor them not with empty words, but with a promise to build a nation worthy of their sacrifice, where every citizen stands a little taller because they showed us how. So take a moment to thank a veteran, fly the flag, or simply pause in gratitude.
Thank you, brother.
You got it, my
All I
friend.
can say to that is amen.
So that event starting in about an hour and 40 minutes from now. We'll see the president there in the East Room with 100 recipients of the Purple Heart. We'll go over some of those specifics once again in just a bit as we have a number of live interviews to get to. We're following a lot of stories out there in this 24/7 news cycle. Speaking of news, earlier today, the president signed a number of executive orders. One where he signed a debanking executive order along with an order easing the path for private assets in 401ks. Also, according to the Daily Caller, President Trump will make universities fork over admissions data to prove they're not taking part in affirmative action. So those are a few things happening today during the day there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as we are approaching that 200-day mark. I believe today is the 200th day, depending if you count tomorrow or today, because it says 199 if you just count it to just today. Tomorrow would be the so-called 200th day. But regardless of President Trump's second administration, the 47th Commander-in-Chief, at the helm, a lot of wins we've seen, a lot of them going on at the White House there and for the American people. On top of that, we're monitoring a lot of stories as well when it comes to the Department of National Intelligence sharing a report with the DOJ and the FBI when it comes to the now DOJ open investigation, criminal investigation into the Russia hoax. So we'll see and monitor that story. Also the DOJ and also James Comer out of Kentucky releasing a whole list of people that are going to talk and speak and testify, of course, under oath regarding the Epstein case. And some of the names in the subpoena list are the two Clintons, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and Mr. Mueller, and so many other people that will be testifying there in Washington, D.C. in regards to that. So those are the two big stories we'll be tracking over the months, but also, and we'll see if there's any details that come down the pike. Who knows? That could be something that could happen any day when it comes to any indictments possibly. The evidence and the receipts, if what Tulsi Gabbard is saying is true, which I believe it is, and we've seen a lot of the receipts and evidence when it comes to all of the different things that have happened in 2016 with the Russia hoax, there may be indictments. We'll see. We'll monitor that here at the network. On top of that, of course, we're going to get to a list that the White House just released when it comes to 200 days in office for President Trump and all of the promises made, promises kept, and all of the different things. We'll kind of review and highlight a number of those in just a minute. Speaking of reviewing and highlighting within the 24/7 news cycle, let's just go to two videos, all having to do with Apple. Now, that $100 billion investment into the United States of America manufacturing, so more facilities going up across this country as Apple is now upwards of $600 billion of investment into the United States. I was thinking about that number the other day, 600 billion, 400 billion away from $1 trillion. Is that right? It's a lot of money, man. Wow. Let's take a look at some of the videos from the 24/7 news cycle about Apple and the United States of America.
Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion, that's with a B, in the United States over the next 4 years. That's $100 billion more than they were originally going to invest. And this is the largest investment Apple has ever made in America and anywhere else. And it's just an honor to have you. As you know, Apple's been an investor in other countries a little bit. I won't say which ones, but a couple. And they're coming home. $600 billion, it's the biggest there is. The company is also unveiling its ambitious new American manufacturing program, which will bring factories and assembly lines across our country all roaring to life. Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion, that's with a B.
Earlier this year, we broke ground on a new factory in Houston to make advanced AI servers. And just last month, the very first test unit rolled off that factory's line, proudly made in America.
All right, we're going to get to a number of more videos, a lot of content out there in that 24/7 news cycle. It's 2:24 Eastern Time Let's go to All Family Pharmacy once again here. The fight for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. They just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors who review your request online. They write the prescription and they ship quickly to your door. So you get the trusted medication fast without the hassle, gatekeeping, or inflated costs. Just real access to real medicine. You can check them out and get what you need. They have more than 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. So all you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that 10% promo code there, RSBN10, for that extra 10% off. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's now go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. So if you're looking to bet, trade, or just check out the polls, more than 1 million users use Kalshi. So you're looking at various topics out there: science, technology, sports, weather, faith, really anything. You can go to that website, just scroll along there and pick whatever you'd like to talk about or see when it comes to a poll, or if you want to bet and trade, that's what this site's for. So Kalshi.com, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go from Kalshi to Spring, Texas, where Angel Paste is from. AngelPaste.com. Use that RSBN promo code. Of course, that'll get you the percentage off when it comes to the flagship product right there, and all of the products on Angel Paste. Again, they hire military veterans and a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so we're approaching the bottom of the hour on this Thursday, August 7th. We'll be seeing the president at 4 o'clock or around that time at the East Room. Again, honoring 100 Purple Heart recipients today, so it'll be great to see that. We're going to replay a video that we played at the top of the broadcast a little bit later, just in case you missed it, from the Department of Defense regarding Purple Heart and the Purple Heart and all of the history behind that as well. Let's shift gears a bit right now and talk about, there's so many critical issues out there to talk about, but there's other things that President Trump talked about yesterday as well when it comes to Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy Kimmel. Take a look.
Colbert has no talent. I mean, I could take anybody here. I could go outside in the beautiful streets and pick up a couple of people that do just as well or better. They get higher ratings than he did. He's got no talent. Fallon has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going. I don't know, but I would imagine because they get, Colbert has better ratings than Kimmel or Fallon. You know that. Howard Stern, it's a name I haven't heard. I used to do a show. We used to have fun. But I haven't heard that name in a long time. What happened? He got terminated?
Yeah, they're going to separate ways because I think what they're offering salary-wise is real low than what he's getting.
You know
now.
when he went down?
Whenever you want.
You know when he went down? No, before. When he endorsed Hillary Clinton, he lost his audience.
Right.
People said, give me a break. He went down when he endorsed Hillary Clinton.
There you go. President Trump getting asked a question by Brian Glenn here yesterday, when it comes to entertainment and the hosts. We're going to talk to Joseph Vasquez. He was on the broadcast a couple of days ago. We had a great time on the broadcast. I don't know if you caught it, but I'll ask him about that one too, just about the late night hosts and all that kind of thing as we continue to monitor news here at Right Side. It's 2:28 Eastern time right now. And speaking of no talent, let's go to our next clip. It's a split screen where the governor out of California said this, Gavin Newsom, when real Donald Trump, this is on X, needlessly deployed armed soldiers against Americans in Los Angeles, it wasn't just a disgrace, it was a massive waste of taxpayer dollars. Gavin Newsom says, my office is filing a Freedom of Information Act request to uncover the true cost of Trump's political theater. I say, oh, please, and I think the Department of Defense Rapid Response says it as well. This is what they said to Gavin Newsom on X just recently. You failed to do your job. You failed to protect federal agents. You failed to protect federal property. You should be thanking the brave Marines and National Guardsmen who helped restore order to your streets. Interesting stuff right there between the governor of California and the DoD Rapid Response Team there with the Department of Defense. Again, you can check all that out on X if you'd like. We'd like to look at some of the latest, the freshest content that's out there, whether it's on X, on Truth Social, or just in that 24/7 news cycle. On top of that, we're pretty much covering it every day here when it comes to what's going on. Of course, they're at the White House. Looking forward to seeing the president a little bit later today, just about an hour and a half from now, where he will be honoring 100 Purple Heart recipients. What an awesome, awesome day it is. It's Purple Heart Day. It was back in August 7th. I believe it was 1792. Let me double check my notes up on the board here. 1782. That was by order from the New York headquarters on August 7th, 1782, with George Washington back in the day. So we're getting to the history of the Purple Heart in just a bit. As it's 2:30 Eastern time, we do have a live guest joining us soon from the Media Research Center. We'll have two back-to-back today from MRC, a great group of people there in Virginia doing great things to combat liberal media bias. And it's something that we do here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and you see in conservative media, whether it's on TV, online, on a podcast, whatever it is, because they do have 95% of media. And speaking of liberals, yesterday I was going through and just listening on YouTube, was where I was watching this, a Rush Limbaugh clip where a liberal caller called in, and let's just put it this way. If you want to check it out, it's in its context. We can't play that clip here for you. We don't have the rights to it, but I posted the YouTube article or the YouTube post on Matthew Alvarez, at Matthew Alvarez on Truth Social. But Rush Limbaugh, man, I miss that guy. He was awesome, did great things for this country. And just check out how he spoke to the liberal caller with respect, but really put him in his place. It was pretty cool to see that. So just on Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. You can check out the context there as we await our next live interview. In the meantime, let's go now to the state of Idaho, aka the Gem State, where Secretary of Labor Lori Chavez-DeRemer traveled with Governor Brad Little to tour how the workforce is doing there. Check it out.
Madam Secretary, we're delighted to have you here in Idaho, but also in Cascade, Idaho, to talk about the tight partnership between the state, industry, and the Trump administration, U.S. Department of Labor. We've had a very full day.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about workforce needs in the Treasure Valley. We've talked about workforce needs up here. There's no question we're making progress. We've still got more work to do. Idaho's the fastest growing state, and workforce is critical for our future success.
The workforce needs to be upskilled and reskilled so they can stay right here at home. I can tell you, we did do a lot today and visit with a lot of people because that's what they have to tell us. And I want to go back to the president and I want to say, we're doing the right thing, Mr. President. We are investing in our future workforce. We're investing in the American worker. And now it's my job to come in and help you create that workforce right here in Idaho. So it's been an honor. Thanks, Governor.
Sure, yeah.
Yep.
And that report from the Gem State in Idaho. I, never have been to Idaho. I had to look up the motto. It is called the Gem State. Pretty cool stuff out there in the West. That, again, from the Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez-DeRemer. All right, before we move on, let's go to one of our great sponsors here at Right Side. So Utah and Florida actually just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the past 8 decades? Well, RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQ. In a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals out there, scientists actually found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with CovePure. CovePure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. So just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. So their clear wave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that isn't water, which when I saw the script on this, I said, well, what do you mean anything that isn't water? Well, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, they get filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try CovePure water, you're never going back to that tap water. I'm not a fan of tap water. I don't know if you are, but man, I got to have the water that tastes good and this is a great company to provide that for you. So the best part is it has a touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So cold, hot, warm, it can be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, of course, that's totally fine. You can get it through toothpaste or mouthwash. But the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose. Click below, covepure.com/RSBN. And for a limited time only, you'll get a special discount of $200 off Cove Pure. What a great sponsor here at Right Side, just like all of them, as we continue to stay on the right side of history and just want to bring you live events, and that's what we do here at the network. So let's go now to Justine Brooke Murray with the Media Research Center. Justine, thank you so much for joining us once again here on Right Side.
Thanks for having me back.
Definitely. All right, so we have a great day today because we're honoring the president is on this August 7th, Purple Heart Day. 100 recipients will be there at the White House. Just first, let's start with that. Your thoughts about our military out there and our veterans and those that have fought, who have served, and who have lost their lives for our freedoms in these United States.
This hits home for me. My grandfather received 2 Purple Hearts. He actually helped storm the beaches of Normandy. He was a Jewish American soldier in World War II. As now seeing our other deserving heroes receive their Purple Hearts, it's really incredible to see. And it's really incredible that we actually have a president now, after years of we had our previous president looking at his watch when our heroes were deceased. Now we actually have a president who is standing for our heroes and doing everything he can to pay them back. That is so awesome, to see that we have someone that's a leader that stands for we the people and understands that the military, these 6 branches, now that we have 6 because of Space Force, are to be respected. I mean, look at what they're doing on the southern border. Did you ever think, Justine, that the Marines, the Navy out there in the waters, the Army, the Customs Border Protection, local law enforcement, they're all down there along the southern border. Our actual military boots on the ground to just stop that national problem that we had there with all the people coming across. Can you believe we actually have military that's down there right now? They're the reason we still exist. They're the reason America still and will exist as a country and as a free nation. And it's very sad to see that the previous administration, the left, the legacy media just treats them like trash, treats our heroes as trash, and yet their heroes are pop culture celebrities. So it's just, again, so wonderful to see that our heroes are finally being recognized and that people are being encouraged to join the armed forces, join ICE. I believe we've just seen Superman, Dean Cain even join ICE. And it's so Americana. It goes to show anybody can stand up for their country. You don't have to even have a background or start out with a background in the military, but you can learn and you can join, and any citizen can do what they can to stand up for this nation and protect the freedoms that we have. This is a group project. No, it's so true. It's Team America. And to your point, I just found out about Dean Cain, this actor, of course, who was Superman in 1993 through 1997 in the Lois and Clark TV series. And he comes out there and he's saying, I'm joining ICE. I thought it was a joke. I thought he's Superman, he's joining ICE, ha ha. But he's actually joining ICE, and for the Immigration Customs Enforcement. And on top of that, I went to his X page. I'm an instant fan of Dean Cain. I mean, I'm not a huge movie buff, but I knew who Dean Cain was. He's been in a lot of movies. But the fact that, truth, justice, and the American way is in his X post, and he's made some trips out there to the Middle East and all that. I mean, I'm an instant fan of this guy. You? Me too. We have these leftist celebrities. Unfortunately, we keep hearing about, how everyone in Hollywood is a leftist and an elitist. But now you have someone who's so refreshing, Dean Cain, someone who really loves this country and wants to give back to the country that has given him the incredible opportunity to do what he's done, to have the wonderful career that he's had. So now he's paying it forward. And it would be nice to see other celebrities and other people who've made it thanks to this country also pay it forward too. Isn't it great? Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, Danica Patrick, the race car driver on the right side of history, Sage Steele, she was, at a mainstream sports network on the right side of history. I mean, Riley Gaines, the list goes on, doesn't it? It certainly does. And it just goes to show that we're the true side of diversity. It's not forced. We actually all come from very different backgrounds, hobbies, and interests. But the one thing that unites us all is that we love this country.
And that's perfectly put. You know what? We can end the interview there, Justine. No, I'm kidding. But that's no, seriously, that's perfectly put. It's not a forced diversity. It's, yeah, people from all backgrounds, a number of faiths are saying, hey, you know what? We as a people want to have the Constitution as the law of the land. No?
Exactly. And anyone who truly is thankful to be here, anybody who truly wants to contribute to this country would and will recognize that the reason they're here, the reason we have the rights to even speak behind the screen, is because of our Constitution. And it's what makes America so exceptional. It's what makes this country so different than even the countries who claim to be democracies, which unfortunately in Europe, a lot of them are not anymore. They have censorship. They're throwing people in jail for posting the wrong meme. But we have a document that actually says the government cannot infringe on our right to disagree. It's really special.
Yeah, it is. It's great. The U.S. Constitution, the law of the land. And we love the Constitution, don't we? The American flag, all the basics. You know, a lot of times in maybe some other networks, they try and get all complicated with what they're talking about. But we're just saying, hey, common sense stuff over here. And let's shift over to one of the stories that have, started this week when President Trump said that he may or wants to possibly federalize Washington, D.C. We know that crime there has skyrocketed. The numbers compared to other countries, I don't know where the screen grab was from. It might have been on Fox, but the point is the numbers of homicides and all that in D.C., I'm for it. I'm for the president to make that move to make D.C. safe. Do you agree?
Let's look at how the legacy media is treating this. This all stems from the fact that this young man who works for Doge, he and his girlfriend were carjacked, and he's a hero. He stood up, he put his girlfriend in the car, he protected her, he covered her, and he took on this disgusting mob of thugs. But unfortunately, this is the reality of DC, New York. I commuted back and forth from New York, New Jersey, New York for 2 years, and I had lived in DC for a while, and now I'm back here. And the crime rate is insane. Our leftist leaders, they don't want to do anything about it. They sit on their hands and they treat you and me like we're second-class citizens. They let these thugs out on bail. Every single store has to be locked up. You can't even get a toothbrush without having to go to the cash register and asking someone to unlock it. And then on top of that, the worst thing is that as a woman, especially, or if you're just a small figured person, you have to walk down the street looking behind your back every day. And I hate being paranoid in my own country, being paranoid in your own cities. And the people who are supposed to protect you for so long throwing you under the bus. Now President Trump actually is saying, hey, put our foot down. He's back in D.C. He's in the White House. In his own city, he's seeing that our leftist leaders are just throwing their own citizens, their own residents under the bus. The fact that this young guy, I believe he's in his late teens, early 20s, he has to take a beating because the cops are being hamstrung. They're told to basically sit on their hands and not do anything. And what's the legacy media doing? They're making this a story about, oh, well, Trump must be a fascist because he wants to federalize D.C., when the story should be about this brave kid who stood up to a mob of thugs.
It's so true. And that's what they do on the left. They always try and spin it some way that is so anti just the basic morality, the basic common sense that we're looking at it as. And so, yeah, I mean, we the people understand that. And that's what's great about conservative media. You, Justine Brooke Murray at Media Research Center, and your colleagues there here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, the conservative media, and all of the greats that are doing their own shows out there. Because we're fed up. We don't want to see anything go bad, and that's why we're glad that President Trump won. But we want to see into the future these reforms really cemented in, these 20 core promises to the American people. And that may go through what Peter Navarro was saying yesterday. He doesn't want to see bad things happen again, like the Russia hoax. So people do have to be held accountable. Your thoughts?
I agree. They certainly do. And that's the difference between the left and the right. We actually want people to abide the law. We want civility. We don't want people beaten up in the streets. We don't want people beaten up or targeted for their race. We don't want discrimination, or AKA in the modern terms DEI, which basically pits races and groups against each other. And we don't want lawlessness. What I experienced when I was working in New York was this leadership that perpetuated a narco tyranny, which was basically these criminals, these thugs could do whatever they wanted, and they were treated as victims. They were always victims of either oppression or a mental health crisis, and left back on the streets to hurt and maim again. And the people who would stand up to these thugs, Daniel Penny, he was treated as a criminal. People wanted him. The legacy media played the idea that he should receive the death penalty. They even said that about Daniel Penny, a guy who stood up to a mob. And it just kind of gave the idea or the impression that, well, why should any bystander stand up and actually do something when they're seeing a woman being accosted on the subway or on the metro, when they're seeing a bunch of thugs beat up people? It's really scary how our police officers and how everyday citizens, they've been hamstrung, and the left just wanted complete lawlessness. And now what we're doing is we're trying to just bring law and order and civility back, and to once again be a sovereign nation and not a public toilet.
If Zohran Mamdani gets into office there in New York City, the guy's already against police, isn't he? I mean, he said things back in the day that maybe he's retracting now, and when it comes to defunding police. But in New York City, really, I mean, to your point, I used to live in New York. I've lived in the D.C. area. I had an internship there. But the point is, you know, some people are having a good time. It doesn't matter who you are, right? It could be white, black, Hispanic, doesn't matter, Asian, doesn't matter. But the point is, when there is crime from any race, anybody, that they give them that slap on the wrist, and then they put them right back there on the streets, and that happens a lot out there.
Yep. And you had the legacy media pretend that Mamdani, he's not a socialist. He's not exactly what he said he is. He doesn't want to get rid of all the police officers. When he's tweeted that, he stated that in interviews. It's just so funny how callous our media class is. They tell us to basically ignore our eyes and ears, while they're the ones who promote. They're activists. They're political. They promote specific policies. They're promoting Zohran Mamdani. They're calling us all bigots if, God forbid, we say, hey, you know, we don't want lawlessness in our cities. We need to have police officers, especially, we just saw a week ago a murder in New York. And suddenly the same people who were chanting, defund the police, get rid of police officers, suddenly they feigned concern, like the true politicians they are. They feigned concern that there was a shooting in New York. It's the gun's fault. The media is so dishonest about this.
It's so true. Let's go 2,300 miles to the west in Los Angeles. We talked about this prior to our interview. The fact that Gavin Newsom on X said the following: when @RealDonaldTrump needlessly deployed armed soldiers against Americans in Los Angeles, it wasn't just a disgrace, it was a massive waste of taxpayer dollars, this so-called governor says. He says, my office is filing a Freedom of Information Act request to uncover the true cost of Trump's political theater. And then this is what the DOD, the rapid response, said to Gavin Newsom: you failed to do your job. You failed to protect federal agents. You failed to protect federal property. You should be thanking the brave Marines and National Guardsmen who helped restore order to your streets. I mean, is this not what federalizing D.C. would kind of look like in some ways?
Yeah, of course, but the left, they'll just go back to calling it fascism because it's their same worn-out shtick, the same cliche terms they use when they can't come up with any logic or reason for why they believe that our country should be a public toilet and we should just let illegal aliens loot our cities, burn our cities down. It just goes all the way back to when the media blamed President Trump, and they blamed the right for wanting to deport criminal aliens, or the fact that these same criminal aliens were blowing up our cities in California. They were setting Los Angeles on fire. It's the ideology that says, oh, well, when you're on a plane and you're hijacked, well, you don't want to do anything to stop the hijacker because you might make him angrier. So we're basically giving up ourselves. We're surrendering ourselves to the invaders, to the terrorists who want us conquered and who want to do away with civilization in the first place. Exactly.
It's like, yeah, protect the terrorist feelings. Like, what? Finally, the 200 days in office for President Trump, as it's now 200 days in, your overall assessment about the wins and what we see and what we want to see for the next 3.5 years.
Yeah. There's never been a presidential term where things have gotten done so quickly as they have now. President Trump has already deported so many illegal aliens. I believe the main concern for a lot of people, for most Americans, was the fact that we were being invaded. And especially if you're living in the city or you're commuting, even if you're in an area where you think, oh, nothing's going to come here, nothing's going to happen here. Well, those were all the areas where you had young girls like Laken Riley and these other victims of illegal aliens and our friendly newcomers. That's where their murders and the worst crimes have occurred. This entire country was being invaded. And enough Americans, they were. And now we're actually seeing some law and order. So that's the most important thing right now. The second thing that's important is getting everyone out who they're not citizens and they come here and they state verbatim that they want to destroy Western civilization, what we've seen spewed by that so-called Columbia student who wasn't actually a student. I almost called him Mamdani, but it's actually Mahmoud Khalil. Mamdani, I believe, might support him. But you had the legacy media treating this kid as a martyr of President Trump's so-called fascism. But these are people, these are rioters on our streets in the city who come here from different countries, who come here from terrorist nations, and they want to bring the terrorism here. And they openly state they want to conquer this country. And President Trump is finally saying, hey, let's do something about it. Get them out here. So those are two very important things that President Trump has already done so much to handle. So we're really going from there now. Exactly. And finally, I mean, it looks like, I would think the radical leftists, let's name a few. I think Cory Booker would be one, AOC, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Jasmine Crockett. The list goes on. Some in the deep state, some that are getting talked to about this Russia hoax, all that, those lovely people. Thank you so much for being in our country and wanting to crush our Constitution. But the point is, I think that they would want China, that government, to be here in this country. They would want that style of government right here in the United States of America. I believe that's one of their dreams. They're like, yes, this is what we're going for. Do you agree with that? They seem to be pretty open about it. Look how Newsom only cleared up California because President Xi was coming to visit. You had Skid Row suddenly magically disappearing for 2 days. And then when Xi left, Skid Row was back. He didn't want to clean up California for his own people, for his own residents, but he wanted to clean California up for his dear leader, President Xi of China, for the CCP. So it seems that the left has more allegiance to China and to our enemies than they actually do to our own people. And so much so that they're willing to sacrifice the safety of our own people to appease these guys, because it seems like they're communists just like them. They certainly are not very open about it. Exactly. It's awful to see it, but hey, we're in the United States of America. We're going to keep, as President Trump said on J13, fight, fight, fight. It's all about praying hard, working hard, voting hard, and keeping the Constitution, the law of the land. Justine Brooke Murray with Media Research Center. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side. Thank you. Great to see you as always. You too. Thank you. All right, so it's 2:53 Thursday, August 7th. We have a few more live interviews as we get ready to see President Trump a bit later today. Again, honoring 100 recipients of the Purple Heart. Going to be great to see that moment there at the East Room of the White House. So looking forward to that. And then I believe after that ceremony is over, usually President Trump takes questions. I don't know if will he today after an event like a Purple Heart event.
And then if he does, will they summon the fake news? Will they ask all these awful off-topic fake news questions instead of, respect out of what you just saw there, 100 Purple Heart recipients? If it wasn't for those 100 people and the military overall, we wouldn't even have a country. We remember back in the day, George Washington in 1775, it had to start there. So there has to be respect for our military. Holy smokes. And these people in the media, man, whoo. You still got to shake their hands and all that. At least I do when it comes to being, professional, all that. But the content is a bunch of junk. A lot of lies going on that side. So glad you're on the right side with us. And let a lot of people know about Right Side Broadcasting Network and all of conservative media. It's great to just be on the winning team instead of the losing team. Who doesn't want to win, right? And for the right reasons, of course. All right, so let's go to a couple of our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Director, I believe you said All Family Pharmacy. Yep, there it is. The fight for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. So they just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. You don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors who review your request online. They write the prescription and they ship it quickly to your door. So you get the trusted medication fast without the hassle, gatekeeping, or inflated costs. Just real access to real medicine. You can check them out and get what you need there. They have more than 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You'll get an extra 10% off by using the RSBN 10 promo code for that extra 10% off. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, Chapter. If you or a family member are on Medicare or turning 65 soon, you can check this out here. Medicare enrollment is full of misinformation. And the more confused you are, the easier it is for scammers to steer you into overpriced plans that make them more money while claiming that they're unbiased. Well, President Trump's Department of Justice just sued 3 of the biggest brokers in America for allegedly doing just that. The victims are Americans like you, who deserve, of course, better. We partnered with Chapter because we did our research. Chapter's advisors make Medicare simple and always put you first. They listen carefully, they compare every plan, and help you get the most savings. And on average, they save people upwards of $1,100 on these plans. So these guys won't push you to choose one plan over another. And if you're already on the right plan, they'll simply tell you that instead of trying to get you to switch to another financial plan for their financial gain. So you can choose the right Medicare plan for yourself with trusted guidance from Chapter. So give them a call today. You see that number on your screen there. And make sure your Medicare plan works for you. Most people wish they had called them sooner. And you see that number right there on your screen. It is 2:57 Eastern Time. One more sponsor here, mypillow.com/RSBN, the free shipping sale. What else is there to say? There's so many great products on there, more than 2,000 free to choose from. mypillow.com/RSBN, free shipping right there. Great products. I have a number of them. Our family does. And we have to order a few more. Let's have a little fun, right? I have I think they're the brown or light brown colored slippers. I want that navy blue or maybe the silver ones. Anyway, mypillow.com/RSBN. Great stuff there and great man right there, Mike Lindell. All right, before we get to our next interview, let's quickly do this. Let's take a commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
All right, welcome back. It's almost the top of the hour, 3 o'clock on the East Coast, 12 o'clock noon on the West Coast. And for those of you watching in the Central and Mountain time zones, thanks so much for streaming in. Basically, I'm here to host and to facilitate, but the main event, of course, is when we see President Trump at 4 o'clock. Looking forward to seeing him there with these 100 Purple Heart recipients. This is going to be, I believe, a great moment in our country, just because we have a president that is doing something like this on this August 7th, which is Purple Heart Day. We're going to review some of the specifics about Purple Heart Day as we get ready for our next interview coming up. But again, the Purple Heart is the oldest active military medal in the United States. It's awarded to those wounded or posthumously to those who were killed in combat. The original Purple Heart, designated as the badge of military merit, was established by George Washington, then the Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, by order from his New York headquarters on August 7th, 1782. So the badge of military merit was only awarded to 3 Revolutionary War soldiers by General Washington himself, and since then, more than 1 million Purple Hearts were awarded during World War II and beyond. So let's review this video once again. Speaking of the Purple Heart, let's go to a video from the Department of Defense. This is with Secretary Pete Hegseth and Mr. Purnell, who is one of the spokespeople there at the Department of Defense. Take a look.
Today, we're proud to commemorate Purple Heart Day. Created in 1782 by General George Washington, the Purple Heart Medal is the oldest military award still presented to American warriors. We award this medal to our brave troops wounded or killed in action. Over 1.8 million patriots have earned this award, each one of them sacrificing for us, for our country, and for our security. So on this Purple Heart Day, please join us in remembering and honoring these great Americans. We are grateful for their selfless service. We will never forget their heroism, and we strive to possess their courage. And that's why I'm proud to be joined by Assistant Secretary of Defense Sean Parnell, who received a Purple Heart for his sacrifice. Sean, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. A grateful nation never forgets its heroes, its triumphs, or its pain. Recipients of the Purple Heart Award put their bodies and souls on the line for this great country. During those quiet moments, when the flag waves at half-mast, we remember not just the medals pinned to their chests, but the scars etched into their stories. The ones that whisper of battles fought in distant lands and freedoms defended at an unthinkable cost. These men and women didn't ask for glory. They demanded it through sheer will, turning fear into fortitude and chaos into courage that echoes through generations to this very day. They are the best among us because they inspire the best within us. And so on this Purple Heart Day, we honor them not with empty words, but with a promise to build a nation worthy of their sacrifice, where every citizen stands a little taller because they showed us how. So take a moment to thank a veteran, fly the flag, or simply pause in gratitude.
Thank you, brother.
You got it,
All
my
I can
friend.
say to that is amen.
A great video there by the Department of Defense, and it's going to be awesome again to see President Trump here in just a bit with the 100 recipients of the Purple Heart. Meantime, let's go to someone that was on our broadcast. I believe it was, 2 days ago at this point? Joseph Vasquez with the Media Research Center. Sir, thank you again for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
So good to be back, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. All right, let's start with this. The fact that a lot of people on Rumble, YouTube, X, all over the place were saying, we like that Joseph Vasquez guy. And they like a lot of our guests, but there was something about how we kind of we carried on for a while there. So what was it like for you? I mean, how cool is it to just be on the air the other day?
Oh, my parents immediately demanded we have the video file for their records. They were so enthusiastic. I mean, I was blessed. I was blessed coming out of that interview, and just who knew that media people, we can actually be authentic.
Yeah,
we don't have to be rehearsed, and you know, that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. I mean, like as I said before, can you imagine like an open prayer session taking place on NBC Nightly News?
Yeah, exactly. and then the things and the content that we talked about. If you guys want to rewatch that episode, I think it was on Tuesday, but still, I think we're going to give them another round 2 here. And my question to you first is, can you bring some context for the people that are watching right now, who you are, where you're from, and where you work, and why you do what you do?
Well, my name is Joseph Vasquez. I was originally born in New York. Me and my family moved to Maryland in 2004 to start in the ministry. My dad was a pastor at a church here, and we did that for a number of years. Me and my little brother, we were serving everywhere in the church. And soon after that, my father felt led of the Lord to begin a church in Frederick, Maryland. And now me and my entire family, we do service together at our church. It's called Deep Waters Tabernacle in Frederick, Maryland. It's actually was the daughter church of the Brooklyn Tabernacle from New York City. My dad was there since the beginning.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was at Atlantic Avenue. My dad was part of the music ministry there. He played on 18 of their albums. They were all musicians in my family. And when I was a student at the George Washington University while I'm doing my ministry, I found the Media Research Center to be a helpful resource for me as a student to get the counter perspective instead of what's belching out of the liberal echo chamber. And it's part of the reason why I was able to get through my tenure as a student at George Washington University with my conservatism intact, and to be able to shine a light not just for conservatism but also for my faith as a follower of Christ. And so after that, the MRC had a position open for a freelance writer. I tried it, and I'm thinking, what are the odds I'm going to get hired? I studied political science. I didn't study journalism. But then they took a shot with me, and after a little while as a freelance writer, they offered me a full-time position as their business writer, and I've been there ever since, researching George Soros, researching economics, business, and finance. And I'm happy to say that I have at least a little bit more of a grasp on how economics works than Paul Krugman at the New York Times. So I hold that as a little bit of as a chip on my shoulder. But it's great. It's been wonderful being able to be there. And my dad always reads Newsbusters, so he always likes to read my stuff. He's kind of like my shadow editor, so to speak. He'll give a comment to me after my story is published. Hey, did you mean to say it like this? Did you mean to say it like that? Did you improve it? I was like, Dad, stop stalking my Newsbusters profile.
That's awesome.
But that's my family story, and we're involved in the Christian community, but it's also cool that we can have a voice in the media world as well.
Yeah,
so it's been fun.
So true. Very serious question for you. You said you're from a family of musicians. Do you play anything?
I do. I play guitar. I have a PRS 35th anniversary custom 24. I've been playing since I was 12. And I also have a Taylor. My dad kind of gave my brother, because my brother became a bass player just like my dad. He inherited my dad's Federa, custom-made Federa from 20 years ago, and that thing is a gem. So my brother kind of inherited that. So, and then he became a music virtuoso. So we're actually recording our first album. My kid brother Timmy Vasquez, who's a phenomenal musician. He's just about to be ordained pastor at our church, which is phenomenal. We're really, really happy for him. He's actually in the middle of recording our first album as a church, so we're all very excited about that. So when I'm not kicking around the leftist media, I'm serving God's people in any way I can.
That's awesome. And then the Brooklyn Tabernacle connection is really great. That's just awesome. I didn't know that about your family. That's really cool. Why don't we, our first topic, let's dive into this. How about this? Director, can we go to President Trump speaking about the late night talk show hosts? Let's go to that video right now.
Colbert has no talent. I mean, I could take anybody here. I could go outside in the beautiful streets and pick up a couple of people that do just as well or better. They get higher ratings than he did. He's got no talent. Fallon has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going. I don't know, but I would imagine because they get, Colbert has better ratings than Kimmel or Fallon. You know that. Howard Stern, it's a name I haven't heard. I used to do a show, used to have fun, but I haven't heard that name in a long time. What happened? He got terminated?
Yeah, they're going to separate ways because I think what they're offering salary-wise is real low than what he's getting.
You know when he went down?
Whenever you want.
You know when he went down? No, before, when he endorsed Hillary Clinton, he lost his audience. People said, give me a break. He went down when he endorsed Hillary.
All right, so we just heard the president talk about Colbert, and we talked about Kimmel and Fallon. All right, so are there anybody out there, the TV hosts, that are your favorite when it comes to comedy? We're talking Johnny Carson, on and on and on. How about Conan O'Brien? Do you have any favorites or no?
Equal opportunity offender. So I mean that's the thing with these late night hosts like Johnny Carson. It didn't matter what your politics were; they would come at you just the same. I mean, but you get a lot of these people like Stephen Colbert. Can I just be blunt with you about Stephen Colbert?
Go for it.
I look at him, I see him ramble, I don't get it. I look at him and I'm just like, I don't get it. I'm like, how did this guy get this gig to begin with? The way he screeches when he's talking, like trying to produce some sort of comedy, he just comes across to me like that belligerent, non-playable character in The Office. Everyone has that one person who sits in the cubicle, whines about the size of his cubicle, gossips about everyone and their mother, badmouths the management, and always spends half of his day at the coffee machine. And then everyone's upset at him because he's in the bathroom for the 5th time, doom scrolling Facebook Reels while he's taking his 5th pee. That's who Stephen Colbert comes across as to me. I mean, it's just like, but I don't get how in the world he's able to, to maintain that gig for as long as he did. I'm actually shocked that he kept that gig. But, my colleague, Alex Christie, just came up with a study not too long ago finding that about 99% of the guests across late night shows are all from the left. I mean, for goodness sakes, it's essentially, late night comedy has essentially become a leftist struggle session for lowbrow celebrities who were never told by their parents that their opinions were never worth that much to begin with. That's what it is. And
the thing that makes no sense too is the fact that the majority of the country, so if we're just talking, you know how in news you talk about eyeballs, you're like, how many people are watching? What are the numbers? What are the ratings? Nielsen has this whole thing about it. Yep. You have the different DMA, so the designated market area, the 202 television markets that are out there. Number 1's New York, 2's LA, 3 Chicago. Number 202 or 212 is Bozeman, Montana. The point is that the majority of the country doesn't want to watch that crap anyway. So like, how are they, like, they're on there like tap dancing, like, woohoo, watch us, and there's like 7 people watching.
Well, that's what was bizarre to me. I'm like, how in the world? Who's sitting in the boardroom over at CBS or NBC saying, yeah, this guy's actually funny. Let's put him on the air so we could just screech at people for God knows how long. I'm just like, if I was like the CEO, I would have fired the person who suggested that in a second. I'm like, since when does the bottom line mean anything to you? And apparently Stephen Colbert's network finally realized, yeah, this guy's affecting our bottom line. He's not really making us money. Duh, he's not funny. He's certainly no Don Rickles. He's no Red Fox. He's no Bernie Mac. He's certainly no Dave Chappelle. What makes this guy funny? I don't get it.
It's so true. And then the content that they always are spewing, though, they think it's funny to stand there, and they, and their hand in their pocket, and they're like, and then President Trump said this, and everybody's like, ha ha ha. That's why they have freaking audience, applause and
clapping
cheering.
Seals.
Yeah. And the signs that say, now it's time to clap. Yay!
Now it's time to clap.
Like, to be honest with you, I mean, have you ever been to one of these shows?
No, I don't think I could stomach it.
I
don't think I could. I'm going to pay top dollar to sit for that.
No, I've been to a couple of them. I saw Trevor Noah, and I saw Seth Meyers in person, in studio in New York City. And I've wanted to see, Jimmy Fallon, because the one day Sylvester Stallone was going to be on the broadcast or on the show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The most talented I've seen, not in person, but I think Conan O'Brien's a funny guy. Trevor Noah can be funny here and there, but here's the thing, though. The thing that we're talking about now, though, is the talent. And President Trump said, hey, these guys, he yesterday at the Oval Office was pointing and saying, you guys can go out there and be just as funny or even better than Colbert. And then on top of that, it's just not funny anymore to just be like going against We the People and President Trump. It's just not funny.
Because it's like, it just goes to show you run out of material. I remember this video, and I would recommend everyone go watch it if you want to get some real funny political humor. Look at when Don Rickles was roasting Ronald Reagan. I think it was after, if I'm not mistaken, I think the second election that he won, and then he was invited. Don Rickles, was invited, and he was roasting everybody, and it was hilarious. He was roasting Secretary of State Schultz. He was roasting Reagan. He was roasting Charles Heston, who was there. And I'm like, that's when humor was just funny. Everyone there was just to put their political hair down and just relax and enjoy the show. I mean, Rodney Dangerfield, another one. I mean, like, these were the cats that can get people laughing without having to, okay, go into, okay, here we go, hate Trump again.
Yeah, exactly.
How long are you going to stretch that out?
Yeah, and it's not funny. And here's the other thing. I think Don Rickles was great. I was watching a video with him and Johnny Carson, and you know how you go through, whether it's Rumble or YouTube, and you just keep watching videos. So I'm on YouTube, and I see Frank Sinatra is getting interviewed by Johnny Carson, and Rickles is next to him, and Rickles is making Johnny and Frank just laugh their you-know-what off. And I'm like, this is good stuff right here.
Yes!
And then when he goes out to other countries and he acts like he's Italian and he just does funny things, I think he's a funny guy. But listen, what we want now is, hey, we see people like Sebastian Maniscalco. I know this is a whole comedy conversation here we're having here. Yeah. Trust me, both of us here, we're on the right side of history, and we're glad to hopefully entertain a little bit of you guys out there. By the way, what are you doing in 30 years from now? Do you want to do a TV night, a nightly show, a comedy show?
Hey, why not? I mean, I may not be like, a Red Fox. I may not be a Jay Leno, but goodness sakes, I can kind of tell what makes people laugh and what doesn't. Not Stephen Colbert of all people. I mean, me and my dad look at him. We're watching his show, and me and look at. I don't get it. Why did he's this guy getting millions of dollars to do what he does every night? When President David Bozell of the Media Research Center, when he came on board as the president, he started asking us, what do you do? Why do you come here? Why do you come to the MRC? We knew what we were telling him. We knew why we came to our jobs. We knew what we were doing. I'm wondering, who's asking Stephen Colbert, what are you doing when you come in? Oh, I hate Trump. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. He only has about three years. Once Trump is out of the political picture in X amount of years, Stephen Colbert is going to be out of a job anyway.
Yeah.
His whole career is hitched to the Trump train. So whether he wants to admit it or not, his career is very much hinged on making sure that Trump is as famous as possible so he can make fun of him. That's pathetic.
No, it's ridiculous. 100% ridiculous. And for those of you just watching now, this is Joseph Vasquez with Media Research Center. And our first interview on Tuesday, it was a 40-minute interview. We had one for 40 minutes. We don't have that time today, but we
every second of it.
Talked a lot about a lot of serious topics out there for our country. So this is more of a second round of just having fun together on the broadcast. But seriously, please watch that from Tuesday. But let's dive into a couple of the serious things now.
Sure,
I mean, of course, we have a country that we see the wins with President Trump. We're 200 days into the fact that President Trump is the 47th president. He's been there for 200 days. We've seen a lot of wins, but we still want to see the DOJ take care of business when it comes to people that have broken the law, and that's what we're starting to slowly see, right?
Well, that's what it should have been all along. I mean, but it just goes to show that the left has conditioned people to be okay with a two-tier justice system. That's why Hillary Clinton can get away with, handling highly classified information over a private email server. Can you imagine if just normal everyday Americans got caught with even half of the stuff that these people at the FBI, the DOJ, Hillary Clinton have been accused of doing? We'd be in prison for decades because of that. But these people hadn't been able to get away with it for as long as they did, including this whole thing with Russiagate, perpetuating. I've said it before. I'll say it again. One of the most, if not the most egregious political psyops ever perpetrated on the American psyche to convince the American people that their duly elected president was somehow in cahoots with Russia. Oh, and newsflash, the Soros machine was also part of pushing that whole thing. There's a shock. Is anyone going to pay for it? If Kamala Harris was president, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, if Kamala Harris was president, we wouldn't even know what was in the Durham documents. Those things, the burn bags, they would have been burned. So the only reason why we know a lot about this stuff now is because of what President Trump has declassified. So now that we know this stuff, what do we do with it? Well, guess what? in a sane society, we throw the legal book at the whole thing and drag these people in front of court, drag them in front of Congress, and hold them to account. But, we're fighting a deep state. We're fighting a deep state that's remained entrenched for a number of years, and Trump has been fighting it since he first got into office. They're not going to slow down, and neither should we. If they're going to be as aggressive, then we need to be just as aggressive and holding them accountable.
It's so true. And then not only just, the whole tit for tat thing or eye for an eye thing. I'm just talking about the fact of actually saving our nation for outside of our great president, President Trump, going into the future. And not having anything like this happen again here. We don't want ever for our country to turn into really any other country out there, even if it's, hey, I love Hungary because Viktor Orban's there. I love El Salvador because Nayib Bukele's there, and Argentina, and on and on and on. But I want our country to stay the United States of America with the Constitution as the law of the land. Can't we get it done, Joseph?
That's the overarching question, isn't it? Back then, even years ago, the left to me was always on the crazy side, but back then, we could go and have disagreements about political matters, and then that's it. But now we live in a society where the left abuses their power to then utilize big tech to censor American speech online. Think about it. George Orwell couldn't have imagined that we would be living in a place where these massive tech giants had such control over the American discussion, where people can literally have their opinions censored if it's not in line with the leftist dogma. But that's where we lived for a number of years. Think about it. Like under the Biden administration, they tried to erect this disinformation governance board. If that wasn't Orwellian enough, trying to work in cahoots with big tech platforms to monitor American speech. Oh my gosh, you're talking about maintaining the Constitution as a law of the land? The leftists spit on the Constitution as the law. They don't want when they're not wielding the Constitution as some sort of cudgel against President Trump because it's politically it's opportunistic for them. They're stepping all over the Constitution. They wield it out, they pull it out of their pocket when they need to, and then they slam it, on any other day of the week. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about freedom of speech. They don't care about freedom of religion. They don't care about, free press. What they really care about is making sure, what is it? George Orwell said this in 1984, the revolution will be complete when the language is perfect, when everyone starts thinking the same way, talking the same way, abiding by whatever the government dictates. That's the society they want. And it's completely antithetical to what the American experiment is. And the American experiment, American republicanism, should be what we should all aspire to, regardless of whether you're conservative or liberal. Because it's our freedoms that are at stake here. But the left doesn't care about it.
No, and the left, what they want, I think the extremist ones want, they look at China and they say, oh, please, come, God. And they pray not to, they don't really believe in God. So they maybe, I don't know what they do, but they just want that kind of communist government right here, right now. They wish it, they hope it, they're trying to work towards it. So we have to save our country. And we see that President Trump is on the way to doing that. And then to your point, though, those that have broken the law have to be held accountable to hopefully keep that cemented in for the future of our country. Not only cemented, but just gelled together forever. But I was thinking about the people. Let's pretend, say you were born in Brazil, say I was born in Venezuela, or born in, I don't know, just name a nation. If you're in Brazil right now, you would say, man, I wish I had Jair Bolsonaro as my president, the president that is like President Trump, the Trump of the tropics, where if you look at any videos from Brazil over the past 2 to 3 years of those protests where people are protesting for freedom, you're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people hit the streets. These people are screaming to be like we are here in this country, free, at least that we are right now. And just imagine being born there. And not being and looking up north, way up to North America and up to the United States, and maybe watching a broadcast like this and saying, man, I wish I even had the problems that you guys so-called have right now. And this is part of what I really like to do as a journalist and as just a citizen, is to always fight for freedom. It's simple stuff, man.
That's right.
It's just simple.
Well, think about what Alexander Moraes, the justice on the Brazilian Supreme Court that went to war with Elon Musk because he wouldn't censor any what he told them to censor.
Let me cut you off for 1 second. Did you see the photos of this judge? He looks like Darth Vader. Did you not
I've heard
see
Voldemort. I've heard Voldemort.
No,
comparisons.
seriously, if those of you guys watching right now, wherever you're watching live, like look up this what's his name, Morales?
Yeah, Alexander J. Moraes.
Yeah, if you look him up on X or wherever you want to look him up, and just look at a photo, bald head, all in black with like this cape. I mean, the dude looks like what?
He looks like a comic book villain.
He does. And this guy is coming against the people of Brazil. He's coming against Jair Bolsonaro. Then the president of our United States says, well, hold up now. Whole country, you're getting a 40% additional tariff because you're starting to censor now and mess with people that are United States involved. And you're coming against Jair Bolsonaro and all of the people. It's just like the United States in the sense of this. The majority of the people in the United States and in Brazil are for freedom. And it's probably like that around the whole world. Right, Joseph?
Well, think about it. Why does everyone want to come here? If America is so bad, why does everyone want to come here, to emigrate here? You know, I'm Latino. My family, our heritage is from Puerto Rico, right? My grandfather served in the 65th Infantry during the Korean War, the Borinqueniers, as they were called, the Puerto Rican Volunteer Regiment. He saw active combat. He did that because he loved this country and he loved its ideals and what it stood for. There's a reason why people want to come here, because it's not called a shining city on a hill for nothing. The American experiment stands for something. That people like me, who comes from a modest family background, can actually look. If I study political science, but I wanted to go into journalism, America affords me the opportunity to be able to do that. I don't rag on America for flaws, because guess what? We're all flawed. But at the same time, I appreciate the freedoms that America granted me, and I'm going to teach my children that, and my children are going to teach their children's children that. Because guess what? Who else in the world do I want to replicate? Absolutely nobody. The Constitution was built upon Judeo-Christian principles that honors freedom, and freedom's God, who for me is my Lord Jesus Christ. So guess what? I don't want to replicate anywhere else. I mean, I am proud of my country. I am proud to be an American citizen, and I'm going to shout it for the rooftops, till I go to meet the Lord face to face. Because of what this country stood for, and for the men and women who put their lives on the line, whether it be as police officers, whether it be as military personnel, who constantly put their lives on the line so that we can maintain the freedoms we have here today. It sickens me the degree to which my generation has just turned on this country and make it seem like it's like the font of all evil. Give me a break. Go to communist China and try to speak out against the government like you do here, and tell me what will happen to you then. Appreciate your country. Sorry, I didn't mean to preach. But
No, you know what? I'm going to stay quiet. I'm not asking you a question. Keep going, No, I'm not kidding. Because this is the speech that the mainstream media, the left, they don't like any of this stuff, do they?
No, I mean, for goodness sakes. I mean, I've been called on, by my social media leftists, I've been called a traitor to my own race because I'm a Latino conservative. Hello. What? So I am supposed to think it's part of a monolith? Supposed to think it's part of a left-wing culture? Guess what? Latino. Guess what? We hate what the left is doing with our morals. The fact that they're now trying to inject this transgenderism ideology onto our children, into our kids. I mean, for goodness sakes, it's disgusting. And the thing is, the fact that we, like I myself, are just supposed to sit back and be quiet because guess what? I'm a Latino who has opinions. They happen to be conservative. Oh, they don't align with the liberal dogma. Oh, I'm not allowed to speak? Give me a break. I said, this country, not only taught me the meaning about freedom, but you read someone like Tocqueville, a French diplomat. I think I mentioned this the last time we talked, if I'm not mistaken. But Tocqueville had pointed out that what made America strong was its local communities, its churches. When individual Americans got involved, that's what made America as strong as it was. But the moment that we decided to delegate most of our responsibilities, whether it be parenting, whether it be teaching, to the federal government, to the state government, that's when everything started going haywire, especially in the 20th century and onward. But guess what? Now is the time. And, with President Donald Trump releasing these documents and exposing the corruption behind it, going to war against the Department of Education monolith, and the Common Core, whole nonsense, all of that stuff. The American people now have an opportunity to make their voices heard again and to remind the people that are in Washington, you work for us. We don't work for you. You don't work. We're not communist China. We're not France. We're not even the UK, for crying out loud. But you can get arrested for posting a meme. You are elected to represent our interests. That and that's it. And that's the amazing thing about the American experiment, is that we have the opportunity, even with as bad as our government can be, to change the government through our vote if we choose. The founders gave us that freedom to do so. And guess what? If Reagan said it himself, we're never just but one generation away from tyranny. And I'm probably butchering the quote, but that's the point. I said we have our freedoms in this country because it was paid for at a high price. And if less we start putting value on the freedoms that we have, guess what? We're going to end up just like communist China. We're going to end up just like the UK government, where you can be censored for having an opinion about politics. I mean, give me a break. We're right there at the precipice, so it's up to us.
If you don't use it, you're going to lose it when it comes to freedom of speech and all the freedoms out there. Joseph, I think what we should do is take that soundbite of what you just said, replay that 50 times prior to the midterm elections for the American people to understand what we're really facing, even in the midterms coming up next November.
Well, I never aspired, to be, to have my voice out there, but I'm here now. I'm talking. I'm sick of everything that I'm seeing. All the nonsense, being peddled by the leftist media and the talking heads, telling people not to believe their lying eyes when they're seeing, blatant corruption at the highest levels of government to completely unseat a duly elected president. Oh, don't believe what your eyes can see. It's as stupid as when the guy on MSNBC or whatever was talking in front of a burning building saying that the Marxist riots that were going on, they're mostly peaceful. Give me a break. They literally think the American people are completely stupid. They tried to tell us that the Biden economy was just like cat's pajamas, even when inflation went up past 9% and people were struggling to pay for gas, they were struggling to pay for eggs, they were struggling to pay at the grocery store. But then they told the American people, no, you're stupid for thinking that the Biden economy is bad, because look at all these great things. Look at my figures. Look at my graph. But ignoring what real people are going through. But now they want us to believe, oh my gosh, economic Armageddon is right around the corner because Trump is changing a few things. Get over yourself. Get over yourself and go talk to the American people who are suffering, who've had to deal with this nonsense for X amount of years.
Go talk
to them.
On top of that, inflation right now is at about 2%. So why hasn't the Fed interest rate dropped? What is that all about? The real estate market would love to see the interest rate drop. Simple as that.
Exactly. And Brian Westbury, an economist who's constantly on Fox News, he pointed this out. He said that Jerome Powell had a rate cut right before the election, and he even pointed out that it's political. But then you have the Washington Post coming out there and saying that, Trump is politicizing the Fed. I'm like, have you been living under a rock for X amount of years? The Federal Reserve has always been political. It's why the libertarians hate it so much, because it's ultimately a political entity. So you have people like Jerome Powell that's constantly wedded to this idea about keeping the rates high, even when when inflation is nearing the 2% target, right? I mean, think about it. They tried to convince people that people in government don't have innate biases. It's clear that Jerome Powell is not exactly a fan of Trump, and is definitely not a fan of seeing him being successful. That's clear. I don't need, this big investigation to see what my own two eyes can see, because it makes no sense that the rates are still as high as they are and not being put down. But he was able to cut it right before the election. For what? I mean, so that Brian Westbury analyzed it was political in nature. Wow, big shocker. People have political biases, even in places that are supposed to be, quote unquote, apolitical. That's the problem. And that's what Trump is fighting against. He's fighting against people that are propped up by the media to be voices of reason, but they're not. They're political animals through and through. And the American people have to hold these people accountable for it. Don't let them get away with this. Not again. No more.
It's so true. So, Improv, Part 2, Fake News Media. Are you ready, sir?
Let's go.
All right, here we go. We did this the other day, Tuesday. If you like it, cool. If you don't, sorry, we like it. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
This is the fake news. Ready? Good evening. Welcome to the broadcast. We know that President Trump is being like a dictator because he said that you have to federalize Washington, D.C. to make streets safe. Let's go now to Joseph Vasquez with the story outside the Capitol.
Hi, Matt, and thank you for having me. I just came out of my safe space, and I had my soybean latte. But I just wanted to let you know that I just received breaking news that there was a Latino conservative on the RSBN network ranting and raving about about freedom and all that stuff, and I can't take it anymore. So if you if you wouldn't mind me, I'm just going to exit this interview and I'm going to go back to my safe space because it triggered the heck out of me. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Joseph. Any words on the federalization of D.C.? I mean, I think, obviously, the fake news thing is the improv fun that we just did there, but your thoughts about federalizing D.C.? I think it's a great idea. We need to get that city cleaned up. I mean, the homicide rates, the carjackings, the terrible stuff going on there. Let's get it done.
We should. I mean, like, think about it. The fact that there's high crime in D.C. is not even a new thing. The people that are living there, the citizens, are subjected to this kind of violence for a long time. We want to clean it up. Is that so wrong? Apparently, Muriel Bowser didn't do anything. I mean, you know, the D.C. leadership hasn't done anything. And then guess what? What other options do we have? You want to deal with crime? You want to get crime done? Well, let's stop talking about it and let's get something done. And guess what? The media is automatically, oh my gosh, Trump is going to be tyrannical. It's like, turn him off.
Yeah, and what they're doing is projecting really what their dream is to be anyway. They would love to be a dictator. They'd love to crush the will of the people. This is action speaking louder than words, isn't it?
Exactly. And I don't want to hear anybody from the left talking to me about tyranny when they had no problem setting up some sort of ministry of truth in the Biden administration vis-a-vis the Disinformation Governance Board that was going to be policing people's speech on the internet. I don't want to hear it. You were willing to monitor people's speech. You had the Treasury Department underneath the Biden administration sending notices to banks, telling them to be on the lookout for certain purchases from certain stores like Cabela's or Bass & Pro Shops because it could indicate extremism. Don't talk to me about tyranny when that was the very thing that you were trying to perpetuate upon the American people for X amount of years. And I've written about it and I got angry every time that I saw it because they were doing it with impunity. So I don't want to hear any lip from anyone trapped in the media ecosphere about how Trump is apparently going to be attacked. Stop it. Get over yourself. No one believes you anymore.
And then the lockdowns were horrible.
The lockdowns, exactly. As Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch has said, the Constitution was put on hiatus. It can never be put on hiatus again. Because guess what? You lose a little bit of freedom. One of the things that James Madison had pointed out in the Federalist Papers is that power is of an encroaching nature. What does that mean? It doesn't recede. The more that you give it, the more that it takes. It's insatiable. So the left tasted power during COVID. They were able to silence people for having differing opinions about the vaccines, about treatment, about lockdowns. They were able to censor the COVID-19 lab leak theory. They were able to do that effectively, and it turned out to be a legitimate theory later on. They were able to do all of that, and they love the fact that they had all that power, and they're going to try to keep it with their propagandists in the media doing their public relations for them. I mean, that's not an independent media. It's just as Mark Levin had said, it's unfreedom of the press.
I'm Alvarez. This is Vasquez. You're watching the Alvarez-Vasquez Hour. I'm kidding, but it's kind of funny. I mean,
let's do it.
I know, right? Again, 3 decades from now, when I'm a little bit older, a little bit slower, a little bit more gray hair, maybe we should do a nightly show that would be more on the conservative side. Who knows?
Let's do it. Hey, I'm down. I'm down if you're down, brother.
Hey, man. Sign the contract. No, I'm messing with you.
Let's do it.
Joseph Vasquez with the Media Research Center. Can you talk to us about how people can find you out there in the social media world? Because sure. I'm sure there are people watching right now who be like, who's this guy? I like him.
Or people are saying, look at that guy yell. You can find me on X at JV3MRC. And of course, you can find my work at newsbusters.org. I handle the business section, so I'm handling all the things on business and economics. If you want to see me showcase to the world why Paul Krugman is not as much of an economist as he portrays himself out to be, you can read my stuff. And then also I come out with research on Soros periodically, big investigations that always come down. So, continue to follow my work. Agree with me, disagree with me, but hey, that's what the great American debate is about. We can disagree, but guess what? We can have friendships and friendly discussions even after that. So.
Exactly. Have you ever tried stand-up comedy ever?
Have I ever tried stand-up comedy? Maybe I should think about doing that. Maybe I missed my calling. Maybe I'm supposed to.
No. Trust me. I'd rather you be in this space so you could keep freedom of speech going. But then maybe do on the side, just do some of that. Maybe go to some of those open mics someday or go to some improv place. But if you went to an improv place and you did anything like that and talked the way you talk, they'd be like, get out of here.
No, forget it. No, forget it. It's just all this. It's the Celsius and the caffeine talking. I live with caffeine injected into my bloodstream.
That's awesome, man. Well, stop drinking the cold brew. Next time, I need you to be normal next time, Joseph.
All right, we'll do. I'll be normal. I'll be very chill. I'll be very low key. Very,
Just
very
relax, man. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally messing with you.
Yeah, not slowing down yet, sir.
Same here. And we do it for our own families, but also for we the people, because we're on the right side of history, man. This is common sense stuff. We don't care about what the left says. Let's just get it done in the name of Jesus. Amen?
Amen, brother.
Joseph Vasquez, man. That was awesome. Thanks so much for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Always great to be here, Matt. Take care.
You too. Thank you. All right, so 3:39, Thursday, August 7th. And of course, Joseph and I are Christians, that we're not hiding that. But if you aren't a Christian and you're watching our network, thank you so much for watching, because we're all on the same team here in this country, as a citizen at least. If you're watching from another country, thanks for watching. But, really, if you're on the side of freedom, if you're on the side of the Constitution, we love you. You know what I mean? And if you're not on that side, maybe you'll join us, because think about it, it's just common sense stuff. We're not woke. All that indoctrination over the years from some schools and media and movies and blah, blah, blah. That stuff's gone. Well, that's not in this mind, and that's not in his mind, and that's not in many of your minds, because you realized the crap that they tried to indoctrinate us with over the years. Nope, not happening anymore. All right, let's go to a couple sponsors as we await President Trump in about 20 minutes from now. We have one more live interview coming up in about 10 minutes. I do want to talk about this. The fact that there are people out there that donate to this network on a regular basis. Actually, I was speaking with someone here at the network just minutes ago, or a little bit earlier, and they were saying that there are people that donate every month here at the network, and I didn't know that until today. So speaking of donations, I'd like to give a shout out to all of our donors who mail in checks to the network and have been doing so for years. RSBN fans have been donating monthly. So again, if you're one of those donors, thank you so much for your support for true conservative media and true conservative media right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So there's a few ways if you'd like to donate to the network as we grow, as we expand. And if you want to give to conservative media, just go to rsbnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. You can also go to this address in the sense of mail to a P.O. Box, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. You can send a cash or a check if you'd like. As you know now, and I learned today that there are monthly donations when it comes to checks here at the network. I thought it was all online, but people out there, thank you so much again for doing that here at Right Side. All right, let's move on to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It is All Family Pharmacy. And the fight for medical freedom, of course, is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. They just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors who review your request online, they write the prescription, and they ship quickly to your door. So you get the trusted medication fast without the hassle, gatekeeping, or inflated costs. Just real access to real medicine. You can check them out and get what you need. They have more than 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. So it's allpharmacy.com/RSBN, and use that RSBN 10 promo code that you see on the bottom of your screen there for that extra 10% off. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. It's 3:43 Eastern. Let's go to callshe.com as well. There's more than 1 million users that love Callshe, whether it's on the app, whether it's on the website. So if you go to callshe.com/RSBN, there's a lot of different topics out there, a lot of general topics, whether it's weather or sports or technology, science, faith, politics, whatever you'd like to kind of talk about on that site there. And you can bet, you can trade, or you can just check out the polls. So just go to callshe.com/RSBN. You see that QR code on the screen as well. So 3:43 Eastern Time. In about 7 minutes, we'll have one more live interview as we get ready to see President Trump there at the East Room of the White House. In the meantime, let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
All right, welcome back. It's 3:45 Eastern Time here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for streaming in with us. Those of you that started at 2 p.m. Eastern, we're getting close to that time where we're going to see President Trump there. And it's all about the Purple Heart today when it comes to that event. We did speak about this at length at the top of the broadcast as well, and we're going to get right back into it right now. So the president at 4 o'clock, around that time, will deliver remarks from the East Room of the White House to honor 100 Purple Heart recipients, as today is Purple Heart Day. So there's an event there with the 100 Purple Heart recipients that we know specifically that the Purple Heart is the oldest active military medal in the United States. It's awarded to those wounded or killed in action, to those who, of course, in combat there. So the original Purple Heart, designated as the badge of military merit, was established by George Washington, then the Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, by order from his New York headquarters on August 7th, 1782. So the badge of military merit was only awarded to 3 Revolutionary War soldiers by General Washington himself. So since then, 1 million Purple Hearts were awarded during World War II and beyond. Speaking of the Purple Heart, here's a video from the Department of Defense talking about the history of it from the Secretary Hegseth and Mr. Purnell, the spokesperson for DOD. Take a look.
Today, we're proud to commemorate Purple Heart Day. Created in 1782 by General George Washington, the Purple Heart Medal is the oldest military award still presented to American warriors. We award this medal to our brave troops wounded or killed in action. Over 1.8 million patriots have earned this award, each one of them sacrificing for us, for our country, and for our security. So on this Purple Heart Day, please join us in remembering and honoring these great Americans. We are grateful for their selfless service. We will never forget their heroism, and we strive to possess their courage. And that's why I'm proud to be joined by Assistant Secretary of Defense Sean Parnell, who received a Purple Heart for his sacrifice. Sean, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. A grateful nation never forgets its heroes, its triumphs, or its pain. Recipients of the Purple Heart Award put their bodies and souls on the line for this great country. During those quiet moments, when the flag waves at half-mast, we remember not just the medals pinned to their chests, but the scars etched into their stories. The ones that whisper of battles fought in distant lands and freedoms defended at an unthinkable cost. These men and women didn't ask for glory. They demanded it through sheer will, turning fear into fortitude and chaos into courage that echoes through generations to this very day. They are the best among us because they inspire the best within us. And so on this Purple Heart Day, we honor them not with empty words, but with a promise. to build a nation worthy of their sacrifice, where every citizen stands a little taller because they showed us how. So take a moment to thank a veteran, fly the flag, or simply pause in gratitude.
Thank you, brother.
You got it, my
All I
friend.
can say to that is amen.
Six military branches that we have here in this country, and we have a number of them involved when it comes to the southern border mission down there. There's a lot of photos and videos, of them reinforcing the border wall or Army strikers along the wall. I mean, there's just a lot going on, but it's all for the safety of the nation there. We see the southern border wall going up, continuing across our southern border there. But again, having just, boots on the ground along with our Customs Border Protection, and then ICE throughout the country, getting people that, those caravans of all those people that came through under Biden and all of that. Well, we got to do what we have to do when it comes to the law. So that's the way it is. Again, I've said this before, but if all of us decided, let's just go travel to Tuscany and sit there and enjoy, some wine or maybe some pizza or some coffee or whatever, we'd have to have a passport or some sort of paperwork to actually go to Tuscany. So that's the same thing here. It's just simple. And so also the illegal criminal aliens, what a joke it is for the left-wing media to even cover for them at all, when you have now Alligator Alcatraz and the Speedway Slammer. If you didn't know, there's a second kind of Alligator Alcatraz. It's in Indiana. It's called the Speedway Slammer, where they process, house, and then deport criminal illegal aliens. So those are two facilities in our country. As we're just, full steam ahead, really, to save the nation, and that's what we're doing. And that's what we see happening, and that's what we're covering here at Right Side and within conservative media. Let's go to a couple of our great sponsors here at Right Side before we move on. AngelPace.com out of Spring, Texas, the great Lone Star State. They have this flagship product right there, the Miracle Cream. They have other products as well. So once you go there, and if there's a couple things you want to purchase, or maybe a lot, or maybe just one item, use that RSBN promo code. That'll get you that percentage off. Always good to save money to use the RSBN promo code. Also, Cove Pure, a great sponsor here at the network. Utah and Florida actually just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So the question is, why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the past 8 decades? RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while. A lot of you have been talking about it too. And the government now admits the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA, so JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals, scientists actually found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we've partnered with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. All you have to do is fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. They have something called Clearwave technology. So it's certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that's not actual H2O, actual water, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try this Cove Pure water, you're never going back to that tap stuff. It makes your water taste good. So the best part is it has that touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want, cold, hot, warm. It couldn't be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, of course, it's totally fine. You can get that through toothpaste or mouthwash, but the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So you can take back your right to choose here with covepure.com/RSBN, and for a limited time only, you'll get a special discount of $200 off Cove Pure. Great product there, right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 3:52 Thursday, August 7th. The president earlier today signed executive orders, one where he signed a debanking executive order along with an order easing the path for private assets and 401ks. And according to the Daily Caller, President Trump will make universities fork over admissions data to prove they're not taking part in affirmative action. All right, let's go to our next live guest, the great Troy Miller. He is the president of National Religious Broadcasters. Sir, thank you so much for joining us again here on Right Side.
It's great to be with you today. Thank you.
Definitely. All right, let's talk about the one thing I'm seeing out there, and I know you guys are working on this too, is the whole thing. We like FM radio, but AM radio is getting a lot of slack and a lot of heat. I think AM radio should stay around, and tell us your thoughts about that.
Well, we agree with you. We think AM radio should stay around, and I think 80 million people who still listen to AM radio think it should stay around as well. As you know, car manufacturers, they have decided that they think AM radio is old and obsolete and doesn't need to be in the car anymore. Originally, they came out and said, well, it interferes with our electric vehicle, and then they just came out and said it needs to go away altogether. So we have been working hard on a bill in Congress called the AM Radio in Every Vehicle Act to ensure that AM radio stays in the vehicle and people have a choice to get free over-the-air content and not have to worry about subscribing through their dash every time they want to listen to something.
Also, isn't it for safety reasons too within cell phones? I mean, if cell towers ever go out in a situation, you know, we always hear that National Weather Service, the tone and dial sound and all that, right?
That's exactly right. The only hardened emergency alert system across this country depends on AM radio as its backbone. There are over 70 stations that have backup generators. They have extra reinforced walls and towers and other things to ensure that they can be on the air to broadcast that information. And look, I lived in Florida. When a hurricane comes through, I can tell you your cell service is gone. That's one of the first things that's out. Storms interfere with television coverage. And even FM radio doesn't get the strength to get through the storms as much as AM radio does. And so that's very important to our country.
It's so important. And now that, you know, you're with the national religious broadcasters and we're talking AM radio, how could you not talk about those two things when it comes to the great Rush Limbaugh? Your thoughts about Rush back in the day. Did you know, if you're driving to the store, if you're on a long drive on a highway, did you always look for I know I did. I looked on the radio dial, I'm like, where's Rush?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Clicking through that dial, that AM radio dial. And the nice thing about AM radio over FM was you could find Rush, and then you'd have him for the next 100 miles plus. you didn't have to go, oh, where's the next station with Rush? There. You know, he really did revitalized AM radio when it came to informational radio and conservative talk. I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, and AM radio was always the place you went to get any kind of information, the weather report, the ag report, all of the things that were going on out there. And like I said, look, 80 million people today still listen to AM radio on a regular basis. So it's by far not a dead medium out there to communicate.
Exactly. Speaking of radio and speaking of Rush, you know, yesterday on my Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez, I posted a segment. I think it's about maybe a minute long, and it's a liberal caller called in, and I'm just going to play it just off my phone, and I'm sure you'll be able to hear it. And then I want to get your reaction as to, you know, authentic, genuine, the great pipes that, you know, Rush had, and listen to this situation here. Again, this is a liberal caller, and listen to how Rush Limbaugh is able to take care of business here.
All right, Fred in St. Louis, you're next. It's great to have you on the program, Fred. How you doing?
I'm fine. Rush, let's just take a look at the 2% of the time where you're completely and utterly wrong. Your hypocrisy is kind of amazing. You're so upset, and I sense even scared that this investigation is taking place. You're kind of scared as to what they might find. He's talking about the Russia and it's just starting. It may be going on for a couple of months, but the investigation is just starting. You weren't upset when Clinton was being investigated for Benghazi incident. You wanted a full investigation for that, didn't you?
Yeah, there's all kinds of evidence there that she had been derelict in her duty. Four people died in Benghazi. Because is this the best you've got to sit here and claim that I was interested in getting to the truth about Benghazi, where 4 Americans died because of the incompetence and laziness of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, who was off the grid during the whole time? We couldn't even find him. And you think because I wanted to get to the bottom of that, I don't want to get to the reason there's no bottom here. Fred, the problem with this is there is no bottom. You just said the investigation just began, and you don't know that. If we've been reading the media, this investigation has been going on since even before Trump was nominated. Comey said today this investigation has been going on since last July. Fred, old buddy, old pal, this is a hell of a long time to have no evidence whatsoever. There's no bottom to get to here. And I'm not scared, Fred. I don't do scared. I am pissed.
The caller
Classic Rush.
Yeah, the caller calls in talking about the Russia hoax, and then you saw what happened there. Can you believe that? That was years ago.
Yeah, years ago. Wouldn't you like to get a hold of that caller today and say, hey, you want to repeat that call? Look, this is classic Rush, and this is the way you answer the left. You don't back down. He's not scared. He knows the situation, knows the facts, talks about it. But that's why people tune in to conservative talk radio. There's no propaganda there. There's no lies going on. Just let's talk about the truth. Let's talk about this and get this out in the open. That's just the way it is. And that's the number one genre on EM radio. Christian talk and teach is right behind it. Then sports talk, and then Spanish. So, when we started looking at this, we knew right away this was not about a $35 part in a car. This was about control of information and who's going to be the gatekeeper in your car. And we don't need any more gatekeepers in this country.
Exactly. That's perfectly put. Let's just talk about the sports aspect of AM radio. I'm looking at New York City and these other places, man. They like their AM sports talk. Let's be real about that, don't they?
They do. They do. You love it around the country. That's where you want to get to. You want to know what's going on. And these car manufacturers know that. And so they want you to get the subscription, but the subscription is only part of the revenue. The big revenue is, again, Big Brother watching everything you do, because once you have that subscription, they're going to track all of your listening habits, and they're going to sell that data. That's where the marketing is. And look, the public interest, and we just talked about this with the Federal Communications Commission. When radio was started and when broadcast was started, the government recognized there's a public interest to this. And that's free over-the-air broadcasting to give consumers their choice and not to have us be charged for everything that we have to do in this country, and not to have any gatekeepers. So we're working this bill so that the consumers can have that choice. They can decide to listen to AM radio, FM radio, or get a subscription. They don't have to be mandated to do this by the auto manufacturers.
Long live AM radio, and a shout out to KDKA, the first radio station in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Troy, thank you so much for joining us with the National Religious Broadcasters. Sir, thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome to speak with Troy Miller there with the National Radio Broadcasters. It's always good to talk to someone else that's involved in media on the right side of history and working for something like AM radio. Hey, if you don't listen to AM radio anymore, it's cool, but there's still people that do. So it's kind of like, hey, don't track what we're listening to. If, you don't want to be tracked all the time. I know it's hard these days with the technology and all, but we got to do what we got to do. As it's 4:02, we're looking forward to seeing President Trump. As soon as we see a live feed there, we'll take you there live. In the meantime, if there's any sponsors, Director, please let me know. We will go to Chapter right now. If you or a family member are on Medicare or turning 65 soon, Medicare enrollment, of course, is full of misinformation. And the more confused you are, the easier it is for scammers to steer you into overpriced plans that make them more money while claiming that they're unbiased. President Trump's Department of Justice actually just sued 3 of the biggest brokers in America for allegedly doing exactly that. So the victims are Americans just like you who deserve better. So we partnered with Chapter because we did our research here. We see that Chapter's advisors make Medicare simple and always put you first. So they listen carefully, they compare every plan, and they help you get the most savings. On average, they save people upwards of $1,100 for these plans. It's pretty good number there. These guys won't push you to choose one plan over another. And if you're already on the right plan, this is one of my favorite parts of this whole script here with Chapter, is instead of trying to get you to switch for their financial gain, they'll tell you that you're already on the right plan. They won't even ask you to switch. That's pretty cool stuff. So you could choose the right Medicare plan for yourself with trusted guidance from Chapter. You can give them a call today at the number you see right there on the bottom left of your screen. Most people wish they had actually called them sooner to get that Medicare plan that would work for you. So there you go. Chapter, great sponsor here. So is MyPillow.com. More free shipping, always good. If you want some My Coffee, you can get it there at MyPillow. If you want the MyPillow or the mattress topper or Giza Dream Sheets, the slides, the slippers, the dog bed, the My Cross, the bed sheets you see there, the Giza Dream Sheets, one of my faves, the multi-use MyPillow 2.0. So all good products. You can get a percentage off and also have free shipping. So mypillow.com/RSBN, and you can save with that RSBN promo code. And again, all of these sponsors, great to be with us here at Right Side, but also when you are buying a product, right, with anything you see on Right Side, that money obviously goes to the company. You get a great product in return if you use the RSBN promo code. Yeah, we have a partnership, so we get some cut of that. But the point is, it's all moving forward in conservatism. It's all about conservative media and great products that are brought to you by a number of great patriots. So that's what we're doing here at the network. So it's 4:04 Eastern Time. Again, thank you so much for joining us Thursday, August 7th. My name is Matthew Alvarez. If you'd like to follow us on Truth Social, just go to @RSBN or @RSB Network. On X, which both accounts have upwards of, I believe, combined 5 million followers. Speaking of 5 million, election night, 5 million people, and some of you that are watching tonight or today watched that day on November 5th, 2024. We had 5 million people watching throughout all the social platforms. So we counted through Rumble and YouTube and X and Facebook and our app and Truth Social. I don't know if we can count yet with Truth Social numbers, but anyway, the point is 5 million people, and then 6 million on January 20th when Robert McNeely and Megan Kohler were up in DC and I was here in the studio. So thank you guys so much for sticking with us. We're going to keep going, and conservative media is a great thing, and glad you're with us here on Right Side. It's 4:05 Thursday, August 7th. Let's do this. Let's talk about what we're about to see there at the White House. So again, the president will deliver remarks from the East Room to honor 100 Purple Heart recipients, as today is Purple Heart Day. So that's going to happen here soon. In the meantime, within the 24/7 news cycle, the company called, I don't know if you've ever heard of this company, Apple, $600 billion in investments into the United States. So let's take a look at that video from just yesterday.
Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion, that's with a B, in the United States over the next 4 years. That's $100 billion more than they were originally going to invest. And this is the largest investment Apple has ever made in America and anywhere else. And it's just an honor to have you. As you know, Apple's been an investor in other countries a little bit. I won't say which ones, but a couple. And they're coming home. $600 billion. It's the biggest there is. The company is also unveiling its ambitious new American manufacturing program, which will bring factories and assembly lines across our country all roaring to life. Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion. That's with a B.
Earlier this year, we broke ground on a new factory in Houston to make advanced AI servers. And just last month, the very first test unit rolled off that factory's line, proudly made in America.
Okay, so that was just yesterday at the Oval Office. In the meantime, looking forward to seeing the East Room of the White House, and we will bring you there live for this event for the 100 Purple Heart recipients. Should be a wonderful moment there, and just out of respect, just to watch and just see that moment happen. You'll see that here on Right Side. Also, it's 4:08, of course, as we're monitoring the clock, because we know that at 4 o'clock it was scheduled for this event. Of course, sometimes it goes a little bit after that when it starts. We understand, of course, that A lot of people have to be at the right place in there at the East Room. We have 100 recipients for the Purple Heart. You have the president, who, of course, is always busy. So we'll go there as soon as we see a live feed there. In the meantime, let's shift gears and go from Washington, D.C. all the way out to the Gem State. Does anybody know where the Gem State is, or what state is the Gem State? I didn't know. Sorry to Idaho. That's the motto of your state. I won't forget it. But let's go to Idaho, because the Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez-DeRemer, actually traveled there with the governor of Idaho, Brad Little, to tour how the workforce is doing there. Let's take a look.
Madam Secretary, we're delighted to have you here in Idaho, but also in Cascade, Idaho, to talk about the tight partnership between the state, industry, and the Trump administration, U.S. Department of Labor. We've had a very full day.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about workforce needs in the Treasure Valley. We've talked about workforce needs up here. There's no question we're making progress. We've still got more work to do. Idaho's the fastest growing state, and workforce is critical for our future success.
The workforce needs to be upskilled and reskilled so they can stay right here at home. I can tell you, we did do a lot today and visit with a lot of people, because that's what they have to tell us. And I want to go back to the president, and I want to say, we're doing the right thing, Mr. President. We are investing in our future workforce. We're investing in the American worker. And now it's my job to come in and help you create that workforce right here in Idaho. So it's been an honor. Thanks, Governor. Yep.
All right, so that was a video there from Idaho right now as it's 4:10 Eastern time. Let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, and we can go there in just a second. Actually, my iPad is not working right now for our script, but I do know a lot of it, and I know that ivermectin and mebendazole, you can save 25% off right now for both of those products right there. Use the RSBN 10 promo code, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Pretty simple stuff here. All you have to do is go online, check out your medication, then from there, a doctor will prescribe it. They'll 9 times out of 10 they will. We had Michael Kunzler on earlier, the owner of All Family Pharmacy, and he was saying that sometimes a doctor won't prescribe it, but it's all based on your medical history and that kind of thing. But most of the time you will get what you're looking for there. Ivermectin, mebendazole, methylene blue, all sorts of products there on Right Side Broadcasting Network's RSBN 10 promo code, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801, rsbnetwork.com/donate. So thank you so much for donating here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as it's 4:11 Eastern Time. Again, we are live right now, and we are looking at, I believe, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, just getting done with one of the live hits. We call that in the media a live hit, is when one of the people that are getting interviewed appear live on TV. It's just called a live hit. So the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is over there. So it looks like he may walk to this live stakeout camera right there. So why don't we take it there live and see if he says some things to the press. I don't know if he's going to. We're going to monitor it. We'll watch it live right now. Let's see. It looks like as of now he is going to walk right by the media there. He is going into the White House, of course. That where you see to the right is the Eisenhower Executive Office building. Where he's walking there is where the foreign leaders usually meet the president. That's the office, the West Wing right there. And then back to the right would be where the Oval Office is. So that's the vantage point of what you just saw there. Anyway, we'll be seeing the Secretary of Defense, of course, at this event in the East Room, which is going to start any minute from now. Who knows? That might have been the holdup. So we're going to see the Secretary of Defense head over to the East Room, and then we'll go to that event live right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, let's see if this iPad is working once again. Specifically, I think we can actually get to the 200 days of winning, where the White House actually just released information about the president keeping his promises. So before I read this list, we are still monitoring a lot of 24/7 news stories out there. We're seeing that the DOJ has opened a criminal investigation into the Russia hoax. We're also monitoring the fact that James Comer, the representative of Kentucky, has a whole laundry list of people, including the Clintons and others, that are going to be speaking at a House committee in regards to the Epstein case. So we're keeping our eyes on a lot of the big stories out there. And on top of that, there's a lot of wins going on in our country. So we just want to see more wins so our country can be saved long term, not only for these 3.5 years, but way into the future. So as President Donald J. Trump, now I'm reading here from the White House here, and I read from a screen that's right behind that camera there. So if you see me looking off screen, that's what I'm doing. As President Trump celebrates 200 days in office, the winning is never ending. And in his first 100 days were historic. His second set was equally as impressive. So from securing unprecedented trade deals and locking in massive investments to unleashing American energy dominance and ending woke culture, President Trump has accomplished more in his first 200 days than most administrations do over an entire term. And the best is yet to come. So the White House, reading directly from a press release, and also you can see it on whitehouse.gov. In reading this, because no matter what administration, if the White House is reporting what is saying this, we're going to report to you and share that with you as well. You can follow along if you want on their .gov website. And just see if everything what they're saying is true. And you know what? We're seeing a lot of truth. I see 100% truth right now because look at it. It says here that there was a promise made. We're going to have very large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. So that was said on October 12th of 2024. The promise kept there. President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill into law, delivering the largest tax cut in history for working and middle-class Americans. Let's move on to the next promise. We will close the border, the president said. We will stop the invasion of illegals into our country. He said that also on October 12, 2024. Promise kept. The U.S. reached a new monthly immigration low for illegal crossings at the southern border, including multiple months in a row with 0 illegal immigrants released into the country's interior. Border wall construction has resumed with new border barrier projects underway in El Paso and the Rio Grande Valley. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is from March 9th, 2024. President Trump said, we get all these bad deals. We changed a lot of them, but still plenty of them out there, a lot of unfair deals. If China or any other country makes us pay a tariff, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff. Well, the promise is kept on that one. We saw that as President Trump reached 8 historic trade deals with major U.S. trading partners, covering more than half of global GDP and tariff revenues that have totaled $150 billion, keeping his promise to liberate the country from decades of failed anti-American trade policy. So we can go on there. I mean, there's a whole laundry list of American promises made and promises kept. So we'll monitor all of this news as we get it here at the network. So again, 4:16 Eastern time, we saw the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, just moments ago walking into the White House. So he's going to walk probably over and see the president. Maybe they'll walk together over to the Purple Heart ceremony where 100 recipients will be honored today. And then after that great moment that we'll watch together here, then I'm sure that the president may take questions from the press like he always does. It'll be interesting, with 100 Purple Heart recipients there in that room at the East Room of the White House. Will the press ask all sorts of, I know a lot of them are fake news in there and then some conservative media. What kinds of questions will be asked today? I'm hoping that they'll have at least one brain cell on the fake news side and not ask anything that's way out of line when it comes to just respect the fact there's 100 Purple Heart recipients right there. It reminds me of when President Trump was in the Oval Office and the South African president was there. And the president and the team played on that. Do you remember in the Oval Office a few months back where he played on the screen? I've never seen this before, by the way. You're in the Oval Office. You have 2 world leaders. The lights dim, and then there's a screen for everybody to watch live. Like that doesn't happen, but these are unprecedented times. And it showed all of the atrocities going on in South Africa against the white farmers, right? And again, listen, I'm a Hispanic guy. I'm white, though. I'm Alvarez, a Cuban, Italian. It is what it is, all right? So if I say white or black, you know, who cares? The mainstream media is the one that always wants to, oh, you said white, you said black, Whew, okay. Anyway, but there are white farmers that dealt with a lot and have died in South Africa because of this one group that was so against these white farmers. Anyway, so they show this entire video of the graves of white farmers. They show awful atrocities that happened in South Africa, and hopefully they're not happening anymore. After that happened, the journalist, I believe it was, I won't even say because I don't want to get it wrong, but there was a journalist with the fake news that said, oh, what about the Qatari airplane? Instead, let's go this way. We got to go to Trump right now. We'll talk about that later. Let's go to Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to have just a quick session with Steve Moore. Everybody knows Steve Moore with the Heritage Foundation, highly respected, one of the most highly respected economists and people that watch your money and know more about your money and your life than probably anybody I can think of. And I want to thank Steve for being here. I saw this today. They came out. What he puts out gets a lot of coverage, and I saw some of them, and then he had a couple of others. And I'd like to ask Steve maybe to discuss a few of these numbers that were just released. I mean, literally just released. And then we're going over, and we're going to do Purple Heart. We have some incredible, brave people that I look forward to, so we're going to do that right after this. Steve, could you say a few words about the various charts?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I called the President because I had some very good news from some new data that we've been able to put together that no one has ever seen before, and I'll just very quickly go through these. So I was telling the President that he did the right thing in calling for a new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because this shows that over the last 2 years of the Biden administration, the BLS overestimated job creation by 1.5 million jobs. That's Mr. President, that's a gigantic error. And I don't know if she's, I'm not.
It might not have been an error, that's the bad part. If it was an error, it would be one thing. I don't think it's an error. I think they did it purposely.
Whether that, you may well be right, but even if it wasn't purposefully, it's incompetence.
Right.
Okay, so 1.5 million jobs overestimated. We have access to the some data that no one else does on what has happened month by month with median household income. This is based on unpublished Census Bureau data. It will be released sometime in the next 6 months, but we get an advanced look at it. And so I was telling the President in his first 5 months in office, starting in January through the end of June, the average median household income adjusted for inflation for the average family in America is already up $1,174. That's an
incredible number.
Yeah.
Just came out.
Just came out. So that's a giant gain.
And if I would have said this, nobody would have believed me. There's your number. We're doing well.
So the next one compares, we finally have the 2024 data on what happened with real family income in the United States. And so what I did was I compared the record in Donald Trump's first term with the Joe Biden first term. And you can see that, by the way, these dotted lines here, Mr. President, that's COVID. So if it had not been for COVID, these numbers would have been substantially better. But even taking account President Trump's last year in 2020, we saw a $6,400 real after inflation gain in income for the average family. And that compares with Joe Biden, which was a measly $551. So, Mr. President, you gain 10 times more income for the average family than Joe Biden is because of your policies.
And that's taken into consideration COVID, which a lot of times you don't have to do that. But I'm very glad you did.
We're over almost 8,000 until
look at that number.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we looked at which families did the best. And we have data from the Census Bureau that shows by income percentage. So the 25th percentile is the lowest income, 75th percentile is the highest income. And what I find fascinating about this, Mr. President, is every income group did better. The red is President Trump, the blue is President Biden. Every single income group did better under President Trump. But what's really amazing is look what happened under Biden. The lowest income group lost income under Biden. They were poor 4 years after Biden's presidency. No gain virtually whatsoever for the middle class. And the rich was the only group that did better under Biden, which is ironic because Biden keeps saying he was trying to get rid of income inequality. He made income inequality worse, not better. It was President Trump that reduced income inequality.
These numbers just came out, by the way.
And then finally, these are the numbers just I just showed you in percentage terms. Mr. President, these are the numbers in dollar terms. So even the lowest income, 25th percent, gained about $4,000 in income. That's a lot for a lower income family. $6,400 for the middle class and almost $10,000 for the richest. So you can see every income group did better under Trump than Biden by a wide margin. That's the story.
I think when you look at them, they're all something, but this one chart really says it better than anything. If you look at this is great, but this chart is pretty amazing right here. All new numbers. Okay, so we're going to go now over to East Room, and we're going to celebrate some very brave people with the Purple Hearts. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, just to follow up on the India tariffs, do you expect increased trade negotiations, since you've announced the 50% tariff?
No, not until we get it resolved.
Mr. President, is your deadline for Vladimir Putin agreeing to a ceasefire still stand tomorrow? Or is that fluid now that talks are...
Say it, what?
Is your deadline still standing for Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire tomorrow, or is that fluid now?
It's going to be up to him.
And
we're going to see what he has to say. It's going to be up to him. Very disappointed. Yeah.
And do you have to meet with? Does Putin have to meet with Zelensky in order and before you and Putin have to meet? Or
No.
Are you hoping
so you're
for?
willing to? That's actually important because President Putin said this morning he was pretty dismissive of this idea of meeting with President Zelensky. President Putin was.
I don't know. I didn't hear him.
For you to meet with him, he doesn't have to agree to meet with Zelensky. Is that what you're saying?
No, he doesn't. No.
So when do you think that meeting?
They would like to meet with me, and I'll do whatever I can to stop the killing. So last month, they lost 14,000 people killed last month. Every week is 4,000 or 5,000 people. So I don't like long waits. I think it's a shame. And they're mostly soldiers. They're Ukrainian and Russian soldiers, and some people from the cities where missiles are lobbed in, and you'll lose 35, 40 people a night, which is terrible. But no, mostly it's soldiers, and you're talking about, on average, 20,000 a month. 20,000 people are dying a month. Generally young people, soldiers. We're going to, speaking about soldiers, we'll see you over for Purple Hearts.
Thank you, press. 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 Thank you, press.
All right, so that's the president there. That was an impromptu meeting about job creation numbers with new accurate numbers. So I'm sure that'll be all over the place on social media, and you can check it out on the whitehouse.gov as well. So that was an impromptu meeting. Now, as you heard from the president, he's on his way from the Oval Office on the west side of the building to the east side, where it's the East Room of the White House. Again, next up for the president, he'll deliver remarks from the East Room of the White House to honor 100 Purple Heart recipients, as today is Purple Heart Day. So what we do know is that the fact that President Trump only took a couple questions there, I would assume that he's going to take a lot more questions in the East Room of the White House. We'll see what happens. Again, I just don't know how it's going to play out today because of the fact that there are, again, 100 Purple Heart recipients there. I'm sure he's going to deliver a speech, take pictures, shake hands. I'm not sure. Is this going to be the place for a Q&A? It may be. Maybe I'm just being, I don't know, maybe I'm, off base with that one. But I just don't really, when it comes to the 100 recipients of a Purple Heart, I just hope that the mainstream media doesn't do what they did last time. Again, to the story that I was leading in with was this reporter asked in the Oval Office when the South African leader was there, and switched topics and talked about the Qatari airplane, of course, given to the United States government. And President Trump couldn't believe it and asked that and really handed it to that reporter at that time. But it's that kind of thing. It's that kind of that callous, cold, doesn't matter if it's anything positive. If you remember, and I'm going to get off this soapbox part in just a minute, but if you remember that one State of the Union address by President Trump, and there were so many great things that he was talking about, and people in the audience, you remember that sat up in the gallery, and then the left wing, the Democrats wouldn't even stand, wouldn't even clap for people that have overcome so much, whether it's medically or whether they were saved through some combat situation, whatever. That's what we're dealing with here. That's not normal. That's straight up just not normal. So that's unfortunately what we're dealing with. So hopefully people will start to wake up on the left, but hey, that's in a perfect world. I know we're not in one now. All right, so it's the bottom of the hour, 4:29, almost 4:30 on the East Coast on this Thursday, August 7th. Thanks so much for streaming in with us. We are going to cover this next event there at the East Room as soon as we see that live feed. In a quick mention segment, this is a quick mention segment that I just titled right now because I felt like it. It's major kudos to the 1993 Superman actor Dean Cain for recently joining ICE. After visiting his X account, I'm an instant fan of that guy. That's pretty cool stuff. All right, so tonight at 6 as well. So about an hour and a half from now, the Voice of Reason show with Robert McNeely, that's going to be airing at 6 o'clock here. So when we talk about, various ways to donate or whatever, it's that kind of thing. To be able to see shows like this right here on Right Side, whether it's RSBN Live right here. Of course, Robert works that shift as well, and he also has that show there. So, yeah, there's a lot of different stuff going on. We love to cover the latest news and cover live events, and also that's at 6 o'clock tonight, the Voice of Reason. Looking forward to that. Also, we're tracking new developments, of course, at the DOJ as earlier in the week, the United States Attorney General Pam Bondi has directed the DOJ to open a criminal grand jury investigation into that Russia hoax. So that's where the alleged bad actors tried to, according to Tulsi Gabbard, subvert the will of the American people and stop President Trump in what many are calling acts of seditious conspiracy. So we're going to see how that plays out. A post from last month from President Trump about that. He said the Russia hoax is now totally undisputed. The facts are all there in black and white. It is the biggest scandal in American history. The perpetrators of this crime must pay a big price. This can never be allowed to happen in our country again. That, according to the president, earlier this month. We're also monitoring that story along with any developments in the Epstein case. Also in the news, we're hearing from the Kentucky Congressman James Comer posting the following on X, that the House Oversight Committee is compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through issued subpoenas. This is all regarding the Epstein case. So there's a whole laundry list of people on there. That's something you can check out on X, but I'll read a couple names here and a couple dates. These are people that are going to speak under oath and be deposed. Deposed means basically statements examined under oath, sometimes with the resulting statement taken down in writing and used in court in place of spoken testimony. So, for instance, former President Bill Clinton, but I'll call him President Bill Clinton because I was so sick and tired of people calling President Trump former President Trump. Every time anybody has ever, at least in the media before President Trump, you would always just call him President Clinton, President Carter, President Obama, President Bush. You don't say former. I don't like saying former. It's just one of those things. Anyway, President Bill Clinton, October 14th. U.S. Attorney General, the former U.S. Attorney General, that case, it's all right to say it, Merrick Garland, October 2nd, and the list goes on. James Comey and on, William Barr, all these guys. They'll be all sitting there in D.C. with this House Oversight Committee. And just because, it's a so-called powerful name and all that, it is what it is. Nobody's above the law. That's how it works. 432, we'll see what happens there, of course. We have to see it play out in the court system if it gets to that point of any indictments and that kind of stuff when it comes to Russia, or anything with this Epstein case. there's just a lot going on. So we're just kind of navigating through it. Glad you're here with us. Looking forward to seeing the president there in the East Room of the White House. Again, all about that red, white, and blue that you see right there. The beautiful American flag in the wind right now outside of the White House there. That's what it's all about, is that flag, our country, our soil, our Constitution, our rights, and staying on the right side of history. And that's what it's all about. And we know at the end of the book, we know who wins. We're talking about the Bible here, of course, but until then, we have to pray hard, work hard, get out the vote, win that midterm election. A lot still needs to be done, but we're here to monitor it. And they always said journalism or reporting is the first writers of history. So many times we cover these stories, and you have to kind of stand back and look at it from a 30,000-foot view and say, wow, these are historic times right now. This is the kind of president that could be that reform president that I remember T.S. Dixon was on the broadcast saying, the great reformers, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson, and on. President Trump on the way to being that kind of Mount Rushmore president. T.S. was saying we can really have that happen instead of being more of a yearbook president, the 47th president, that kind of thing, but being a Mount Rushmore president, being somebody that deserves that. And I already think, my opinion is that President Trump deserves that. He's already overcome so much for the American people, but we also want to see not only in this 3.5 years, but trust me, let's come back, same place, same time-ish, but in 2029, and whether it's at right side or whatever, the point is, I just want to know that the president has done everything he could, and that the DOJ does everything they could to save the country, to do the reforms that we hear about on that campaign trail, which is all about those 20 core promises. So looking forward to covering it here. That is the East Room of the White House, and it's great to be a part of this network here at Right Side as we get ready to cover President Trump. And also, speaking of Right Side, 10 years young at this point, and growing. Looking forward to many more to come here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. President Trump to present Purple Hearts to veterans. So 100 recipients of Purple Hearts. That's going to happen here, and we look forward to seeing that there in the East Room of the White House. I've been in that East Room once before, back when President Bush was the president, GW, and Tony Blair was the Prime Minister of the UK. I was an intern at one of the cable networks. No, not CNN or anything like that. It was at Fox, but anyway, that was back in 2005. That was well before I was ready for any kind of national kind of thing, but did a lot of local news since then. But anyway, was in there in the East Room of the White House. It was quite an experience, to be around a president and a prime minister in the East Room of the White House. That's cool, right? But, who cares anymore? What's cool, what's not? What's great is staying on the right side of history. That's what really matters. And working for we the people and being on the same team. The people that work at this network, myself, Robert McNeely, Christina Loren, who are contractors right now, but still, Christina Loren, Megan Kohler, and all the hosts you've seen, or most of the hosts that you've seen, of course, at Right Side, of course, on the right side of history. So, just, common sense people just like you. That have families that want to see low taxes, that doesn't want big government, that wants capitalism to keep on going, conservatism, freedom, all of the things, So that's what we want, just like you guys do. And if you don't want that, then maybe I might want to move to a different country. I don't know, because that's what we want here. The majority of the nation wants that, and hopefully we continue to have that. As I think that's Tulsi Gabbard and the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. So. The secretary or the actual director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, sitting to the left of Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. So any minute from now, right there in that middle section at the East Room of the White House, we're going to see the Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, will walk right through the middle there, and we're going to take you there live in just a few minutes or maybe a few seconds here. So you can get the feel of what it's like to be in that room. As it's 4:37, Thursday, August 7th, I'll throw it there in just a second because I can tell that it's not 2 seconds away from the president. So we're going to go there soon. I know you want to be there, so do I, and we'll get there in just a minute. So as of this point, let me just double check quickly before we go to the president there. I want to look on X and Truth Social. I always like to check out various sites to see if there's any breaking news or anything like that. Right now on X, I don't see any breaking news. Like yesterday, remember the Fort Stewart shooting? 5 of our Army soldiers were shot by one man who is now in custody. As of now, we haven't heard any reports about the 5 getting worse in the sense of their conditions. We know that they were in stable conditions, so that's good. But that kind of thing, when it comes to breaking news, whether it's something like that, which is awful, or in general, according to disclose.tv, the White House demands that Putin must meet with Zelensky before he can meet with Trump. That may be true. We'll see. We'll have to see what President Trump says. I'm just reporting what disclose.tv says, and usually they're on point. Now, let's go to the White House there in Washington, D.C. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for watching. Let's go to D.C. right now.
I can do it, whatever. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, so I'm going to probably try to do that. You're fine, you're fine.
Okay, so we're still, of course, standing by there. I was reading some of the comments on Rumble and YouTube. And you guys are some funny people. I like the comedy that I see on there, but also all of the thanks to RSBN and thanks to President Trump and just fun to read all the comments, and also some of the music choices that you'd want to play inside the East Room of the White House. I found some of those funny as well. But it is beautiful to listen into some of the ambiance, as they say, there at the East Room of the White House. So as soon as this gets rolling, we'll go right there. Also, again, this is going to be awesome. 100 people, 100 of our military members that were wounded in war are going to be presented with Purple Hearts today. So this is, again, August 7th is Purple Heart Day. And if you follow any accounts on Truth Social or on X when it comes to the military, a lot of posts about that when it comes to X as well. So we have been covering this story and other stories since about 2 o'clock Eastern time, going on 3 hours of coverage here. I believe that is Pete Hegseth right there, speaking to someone there in the middle of the aisle where the Commander-in-Chief will walk to the podium and then deliver, I'm sure, going to be a great speech that we're about to witness. And then the recipients of the Purple Heart will then have that happen at that time. Now, after that, the question I have just on the inside baseball question is, will there be a Q&A with reporters? Usually every event President Trump has, he does do that, but either way, we'll just watch it here together as it's 4:54 Eastern time. Again, August 7th. Thanks again for joining us on Right Side. We're monitoring any kind of news that's going on out there. A lot of different talking points and headlines and all of that, but really, if it's not common sense and it's not on the right side of history when it comes to some of the headlines that are out there, if it's not helping we the people, if it's not helping freedom or our country, you definitely want to look a little deeper and dig a little deeper into what they're trying to tell you, because it's all about having that awareness and having that knowledge of what's happening out there. And if it's coming against God, family, country, or the Constitution, usually it's going to be fake news. But anyway, still though, within that framework, of course, report truth. And that is on the side of truth right there, God, family, country. That's what the majority of you guys out there that are watching today are on that side of the aisle. And if you're on the other side of the aisle and you're watching us, hey, great, glad you're with us. And hopefully you'll stick around, because we're seeing some movement out there at the White House. So this might be any minute from now where the president will be entering that room. So let's throw it back to the East Room of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Nice crowd. I even hear a young, beautiful voice in the background, and that's good. That makes us all feel young. I want to thank everybody for being here on the 200th day in office. This is 200 days already. Time flies. but we have a country that's the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. A year ago, it was in a lot of trouble. It's the hottest country, and a lot of the people in this room made it that way. Perhaps the most successful and consequential first 200 days, they say, of an administration in history. So let's hope they keep saying it. There they are right there. I hope they keep saying it. But even more importantly, this is also National Purple Heart Day, and we're here to honor and celebrate the unyielding patriotism and grit and devotion to America's Purple Heart veterans. Is great emotion and great love. The Purple Heart dates back to August 7th, 1782. That's a long time, when General George Washington awarded a heart-shaped purple cloth to 3 soldiers for outstanding gallantry and service in battle. This afternoon, we're joined by dozens of Purple Heart recipients and their families, and just as General Washington did 243 years ago, today we give our everlasting thanks to you and your unbelievable families. We want to thank you very much for being here. We're also joined by American patriots who love our military and our veterans, including Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. You're doing a great job, Pete. Thank you. We're working hard together. Secretary of Veterans Affairs with 92% approval rating, I hear. It's a record. Doug Collins, thank you very much, Doug. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. She's got a lot of interesting things happening in the last 2 months. Keep it coming, Tulsi, keep it coming. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, my friend. We got rid of ISIS in record time. They said it was going to take 4 to 5 years. He did it in 4 weeks. That's when I said, if I get into this again, I'm going to make him the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and that's what happened. Great job, and he did an incredible job in Iran. I want to thank you very much. Great job, General. Deputy Secretary of Energy and Purple Heart recipient, James Danley. James, thank you very much, James. Honor recipient, Captain Paris Davis. Thank you. Where are you? Where might he be? Oh, look at you. You're better looking than I am, I'll tell you that. Thank you. We're also joined by the Marine Corps veteran who co-managed my 2024 campaign, a fantastic talent in many ways after he was wounded in battle for our country in Operation Desert Storm, Chris La Civetta. So where's Chris? Thank you very much for being with your father. It's very nice. Every Purple Heart tells a story of courage, sacrifice, and purpose. It speaks of a price paid for the soldier beside you, the country behind you, and the generations of Americans yet to come. And we have some great generations to follow. It's going to happen. Those who wear this medal ran into bullets, faced ferocious bombs, and shed their blood on the field of battle. We will never forget what they did. We will always use them as an example of bravery and courage and strength. And we will also always think, when we look at them, of our great American flag. We want our great American flag to be strong, and it's stronger than ever. Since day one, my administration has used every power we have to fight for those who have fought for America. In 6 months, we have reduced the backlog of veterans' waitings. And that waiting list was very long, Doug, wasn't it? For the benefits, and it's 37%. So it's just, is that all you did, Doug? 37? I don't know, huh? That's incredible, actually. You're getting tremendous marks, and we appreciate it very much. We processed more than 2 million disability benefit claims this fiscal year, on track for the most ever. In fact, not even close. We're slashing wait times at the VA medical centers, and we're bringing back VA choice and VA accountability. As you know, we had it, and then the previous administration, let's go with the Biden administration, they decided to get rid of it. And you know, choice is where if you wait in line for an extended period or you're not going to see a doctor for a while, you have the right to go out and get a doctor and we'll pay for it, and you get yourself all fixed up real fast. You don't have to wait 6 weeks, 8 weeks, months like they were doing. And VA accountability, I'm very proud of those. We got them passed. Actually, Doug, you were a member of Congress when we did. You helped us a lot. But we got them passed in the legislature, so they're with us forever. And yet Biden found a way to not use them. But VA accountability, that's when we have bad people in the Veterans Association that were taking advantage of people, hurting people, and they weren't in prime time. In prime time, they wouldn't have touched them, but they weren't quite in prime time, and they were doing bad things. They were sadists, they were thieves, and some bad people. We had 9,000 of them. We fired every one of them, and it was a great thing. And then he put some of those people back. I don't know why they did that, but they did it. But we got them out again, I think, Doug, right? So it's good. So we had VA choice, VA accountability, something we're very proud of. I'm also working to keep my promise to end veterans' homelessness in America. In May, I signed an executive order to open the National Center for Warrior Independence in Los Angeles, California, which will house up to 6,000 homeless vets. It's going to be beautiful. Last week I signed the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act, a big deal to help ensure no veteran is kicked out of their home for a late payment. If you're a little bit late, don't worry about it. And frankly, if you're a lot late, you don't have to worry about it either. You just get it in when you can. Get it in when you can. And America's veterans have done their duty for us, and under the Trump administration, we are doing our duty for you. Okay? That's the way it's supposed to be. One of our brave soldiers with us today is Army Veteran Specialist Kevin Jensen. In 2008, Specialist Jensen was a gunner in a Humvee racing to support a platoon ambushed by the Taliban in Afghanistan. His vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb, flew 10 feet. He flew 10 feet up into the air and exploded in flames. The whole place was on flames, including, unfortunately, Kevin. But he suffered deep third-degree burns, and all over his body he was in trouble, big trouble. Despite the agony, he selflessly ran to the aid of his platoon leader, who was engulfed, or just absolutely, everyone thought he was gone. He was engulfed in fire. "Sir, I've got you. I've got you, sir," Kevin shouted and pulled his friend to safety. Specialist Jensen earned the Purple Heart, and he's here today with the platoon leader whose life he saved and our newly sworn-in VA Undersecretary for Medical Affairs, Captain Sam Brown. Kevin and Sam, please stand, and I know Sam very well. Sam is great. Okay. What a combination. He's okay, right? Great, sir. That's good. Thank you very much. You did a great thing, because I got to know him and his really beautiful wife. You know, you're not allowed to say beautiful anymore. It's political suicide, they say. But I'll say it anyway. And the most beautiful family you've ever seen. And I just want to thank you for having done, and you for your great bravery. It's really great. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you. Also with us is 24-year Army veteran Brian Willett. In 2010, Staff Sergeant Willett was conducting a resupply mission in Afghanistan when his vehicle was struck by a roadside bomb. You know who did the roadside bomb, right? Soleimani. Where is he? Where is he? Where is Soleimani? He did. He was the father of the roadside bomb. They say 92% of the people who got either killed or badly hurt It was Salamini. He was the one that did it more than anybody else by far. Leaving this person very seriously injured. 7 months later, Brian's teenage son, Private Kevin Willett, who was also deployed to Afghanistan, was standing guard when insurgent forces attacked with heavy fire. The grenade knocked him out and knocked him right to the ground. He was in big trouble, but Kevin rose to his feet and successfully repulsed the attack on his camp, earning both the Purple Heart and Bronze Star for valor. And I'd like to ask Brian and Kevin to please stand wherever you may be. Hi. How are you? How are you? Good job. Good job. Two great people. I would say these are different types, right? These are different types, right? But same blood. That's all we care. It's very good. You both look great. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it. We're also joined by Marine Corps veteran Staff Sergeant Thomas Mateo, wounded 6 times during 2 tours in Vietnam. At the end of his first tour, shrapnel sliced open his abdomen and he was left bleeding, and they thought he was gone. He was on the jungle floor for a long period of time, but he recovered and chose to go back and fight. Thomas later continued to protect our citizens as police chief of Hialeah Gardens and Inverness. That's 2 good places. We love those places. We love Florida. Every time I ran there, I won, so I got to love it, right? Set records. We have the all-time record, Thomas. And he was one of the very rare 6-time recipients of the Purple Heart. Boy, you got hit. Where's Thomas? 6 times. You got to be kidding. That's pretty tough stuff. And look at you. You look fantastic. So did it have any negative impact on you, would you say, now that you're recovered, fully recovered, would you say? Do you get any extra aches and pains or anything? That's it. That's called an ache and a pain. That's right. I know. I have the whole list. It's amazing, and you look great. Thank you very much. That's some list. Thank you. It's amazing. Amazing. Last year, after an assassin tried to take my life in Butler, Pennsylvania, Thomas generously mailed me one of his Purple Hearts. Many of the other veterans showed me the same unbelievable gesture of kindness, including 3-time Purple Heart recipient John Ford and Gerald Enter Jr., who also came along with us and did us a great, great favor. Gerald, John, and Thomas, I want to thank you very much. What a great honor to get those Purple Hearts. I guess in a certain way it wasn't that easy for me either when you think of it, but you went through a lot more than I did, and I appreciate it all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Where are you? Stand up, please. Please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that was someday we had together, though, huh? That was someday we had together. Thank you both very much. Thank you all. From the very beginning, our nation's fate has depended on heroes like those in the room who placed their bodies between the enemy fire and really that fire and the American freedom that we all love so much. Because of their sacrifice today, our flag is still waving proudly, and our freedom is still safe and secure, and our future is looking brighter and greater than ever. Our country is doing really well. We're very proud of our country. We had that mission. I watched those B-2 bombers with those pilots. We had them in the Oval Office celebrating their incredible bravery and talent, pure talent. Every single bomb hit its mark perfectly. And then we had Tomahawks coming in, 30 of them coming in from submarines that were 300 miles away. They all hit their mark too. Look at her smiling. You think that's your boy. Look at her smile. But pretty good, right? Pretty good. We had them and we celebrated all together. We actually had 52 tankers. Can you imagine? We had a lot of the people over to the White House, to the gardens, and it was an incredible day. It was a day of celebration. They've been looking to do that for 22 years. One of the pilots came up and said to me, we've been waiting for 22 years, my predecessors, because he was a young guy, but he said, we've been practicing this 3 times a year for 22 years. Who knew that, Pete? And I said, you mean you knew exactly what to do? He said, every single year, 3 times a year, we'd practice for that specific event. and you were the one that had the guts to do it, send us on our way. And I said, were you happy or unhappy about the fact that I said you? He said, we couldn't get into the planes fast enough, right? I said, well, you guys are different, but they're really talented people and special. We've had some incredible success. But I want to give a very special thanks to all of the Purple Heart recipients that are with us today and all over the country and all over the world, frankly. And I'll now sign the proclamation officially declaring this as National Purple Heart Day. Very special day. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. And that is not done by an auto
All right, 5:15, great moments in the East Room of the White House today, honoring numerous Purple Heart recipients. Thank you so much for staying with us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. For those of you that have watched since 2 o'clock, thank you so much for doing so. Those of you that joined even later, all good too. Glad you're here with us. It's 5:16 now. This RSBN live stream broadcast brought to you by a number of great sponsors. So we're going to quickly go through them and thanking each of them. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code, of course. That'll save you an extra 10% off outside of mebendazole and ivermectin. Kalshi.com as well. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Thank you guys for being a great sponsor here. Angel Paste as well out of Spring, Texas. Use that RSBN promo code. Always goes a long way with great products right there at Angel Paste. Let's move on to Cove Pure. Say goodbye to tap water and hello to great tasting, clean, much better water with Cove Pure. CovePure.com/RSBN. And we want to thank Chapter as well. Call that number you're about to see on the bottom left of your screen right there. You can knock out that Medicare to-do list. This is a great group right there, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Free shipping, always good to see it. And I'm not kidding. It's always good to see it because it's great products there. All of our sponsors, thank you guys so much for being a part of this network as we continue to grow and expand here at Right Side. It's 5/17, Thursday, August 7th. Coming up in less than an hour, 6 o'clock, Robert McNeely's show, Voice of Reason, will be right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. There it is. You can check it out. It's at 6. And for all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, my name is Matthew Alvarez. We have more coverage, of course, tomorrow as we continue this 24/7 news cycle here in conservative media. Have a great rest of your day. If there's any breaking news or developing news, you know where to find us throughout the social media platforms. Thank you again, guys, for sticking with us. We'll see you in maybe a little bit or maybe tomorrow.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.